just tied the game. He's got 30 on the night. Sadiq gets it out to Trey in the backcourt. Trey now brings it across against Jaylen Brown. Trey in the middle, fires the three. Bang! Trey Young just hit it with 1.8 to go. And the Hawks take a 2-point lead. 119 to 117. Trey Young has just stunned this crowd, folks. Trey Young has just stunned Boston.
Less than a minute to go. He goes to the right hand, stops, goes again, jumper. No good. There's a stop. Slow down. Jokic gets it across the timeline to Porter. Everybody hang on here. Jamal Murray puts it on the floor in the paint to Jokic. Hook shot. Got it to foul! Denver leads it by 4. And Karl Anthony Towns fouls out of the basketball game.
Suntory back defensively now. Westbrook has it knocked away. Durant with a steal. Booker picks it up. Booker on the drive. Pulls back off the glass. Got it. 8-footer left side. So the Suns defense came up with a big play. Booker winds up with a hoop. 79-75. Clippers still with the lead. Get it up to Booker. Booker out on top is pushed. They don't blow the whistle. Booker from 15. Yes, indeed. Devin Booker. When he's called upon, he answers the call.
Live from 50th and Capitol Avenue in the Big O. This is Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and 1620 The Zone TV. Now here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy.
So does the winner of the Suns-Nuggets series immediately go to the NBA Finals?
It's looking that way. I actually was thinking about that when I woke up.
Now, last night, Denver, which was behind by 15, rallied to beat Minnesota, Murray and the Joker, which is a good, buddy.
Could be a good song.
That's like a buddy movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, Murray and the Joker.
Murray and the Joker.
We had a Marvel thing the other day. I can't remember what you said. Sounded like a
sitcom.
Marvel. So yeah.
I'm feeling a sitcom on that one.
And then last night, Devin Booker held off the LA Clippers. He scored 47. He's had an unbelievable first round of the playoffs. He might be the best player that's been going in the first round of the playoffs.
Who hasn't been hurt?
Phoenix, they really weren't tested, even though, gosh, Tyronn Lue somehow kept that team engaged without Paul George and Kawhi Leonard for all but one game of that series. And Phoenix closes out the Clippers, and now we have one of the semifinals is set in the West, and it's Phoenix and Denver. Good morning, everybody. Welcome in. It is a midweek madness show, not a mess if you are Nebraska baseball. Sharp and Handley in the morning.
About that.
You heard from Nick. You heard from Jimmy. I'm Gary. So last night at Tal Anderson, which beautiful night, turned out to be a really, really nice night and a great crowd. 2,285 showed up to watch Nebraska and Omaha. And, you were there. That's a big event for Omaha athletics. Big sponsors, a lot of people that you never knew worked in the athletic department at Omaha show up for that. Like also a lot of fans that will show up that don't normally come to Omaha sporting events.
It's like the first day of fall semester where you get excited to see all the pretty ladies, and all of a sudden, like 2 weeks in, you're like, where are they?
So before we get into the game, which Nebraska ended up winning last night, that, and I live in that neighborhood, and so I know how important those two facilities together are to have a place like Tal Anderson Field, which is like the smartest decision, one of the smartest decisions Trev Albert's ever made, to go with the size of that stadium and where they put it.
Yep.
And it is a jewel. It's the right size for Omaha baseball. But it was so cool last night. I always say this, and you spend a lot more time inside of Baxter Arena, but where Baxter Arena is, where baseball and softball is, and you're right there on the edge of Exarban Village, and everything goes on in Exarban Village as an entertainment district. You see whenever you got basketball or hockey in Baxter Arena, you get the spillover and people are in the village, and I always like that vibe, a lot of people around. Last night was like a great vibe. I was driving up, and I was trying to figure out, okay, if I leave my house at 5:58, could I be in the parking lot at 5:59? Actually, it was like 6:01 because there was a lot of traffic. An hour before the game.
Yeah, 3 minutes instead of the one.
But it was great. Like people were tailgating, men's and women's basketball with the Bull Market, which is the NIL group for Omaha. They had a big event. It was just, that's an event. Like you would think, man, could you get more of those? Because that's pretty special to Omaha. And Nebraska's a show.
Right.
We know
it's a big draw.
I mean, when Nebraska shows up, it is a show. The fans show up. people that you didn't know still worked at Nebraska. They show up. And last night, you know who showed up? And this is great. And we're going to give a lot of credit where credit is due. Drew Christo.
Yep.
Is Drew Christo back? Poll question. He was pretty impressive last night for Nebraska when he needed to be. He looked like, and I tweeted this out, he looked like the Elkhorn High vintage Drew Christo who had Major League scouts pulling up the radar gun behind home plate when he was pitching in high school. He looked like that guy a couple of years ago, and he looked the best that I think I've seen him, and it's just kind of like trending in the right direction, and last night Nebraska needed it.
Yeah. And I would even say kind of junior year Drew Christo, where he was untouchable. Senior year Drew Christo, there was more of a challenge. I think people were more challenged to like, okay, this is the guy, this is the measuring stick. So he had a lot more eyeballs. He was a lot more in the crosshairs his senior year. I kind of thought about that too. It's been a slower process to kind of get the Drew Christo that I think everybody figured would be in Lincoln. And you could see it. And we've talked about this over the last 3 weeks where he's, and this is where I want to give Jeff Christie a lot of credit too.
Thank you. That's where I was going to go.
Because I think he has handled this situation and he's understood that bringing him along and not worried about the outside noise of where Drew Christo needs to be in the process, but where Drew Christo is with Jeff Christie's watchful eyes, Drew Christo's ability to retain the information he needs to, and put him in positions to succeed. You get him in these spots, as you've seen this year, and what we've talked about, you stack positive performances, whether it's getting an out, an inning, maybe two, you're keeping the runners off the base path, you're reducing free passes, minimizing free passes. And last night, that was the biggest stat of them all, 0 base on balls. The 8 strikeouts is what's going to excite everybody because he's got big stuff. The stuff has always been there. It's the ability to, as we talked about in college baseball, you're going to get kids in high school that they're not used to seeing 90-plus stuff. So they're going to swing outside of stuff or swing outside of the zone. They're going to go after things that are not in the zone. College, you got more disciplined hitters. So you got to understand where to attack, but you got to understand where to attack in the strike zone as opposed to getting away with stuff in high school. I think that's one of the things you've seen this year where he has been able to really locate that that college zone. And then last night it kind of came together in a nice way where he was minimizing his pitches. He was getting ahead of hitters. He was using the slider, the off speed. I mean, that was wipeout stuff, and his fastball was there. There's just a lot of things about that process that I think it's kind of built up to what you saw last night. And we talked about a lot, stacking positive moments for him. And that's where I look at the process, the plan that Drew Christo is working with Jeff Christie on, where Jeff Christie, he might get some talk about other guys of like, what about this person in development? This is one of those projects. And I say project, even though Drew Christo was considered to be an elite arm, some guys don't always come into that freshman year, basically pick it up from where they left off in high school. So to maintain that level of success, sometimes you have to kind of break it back down a little bit. And I think you're starting to see the benefits of that right now.
Yeah, he threw 4 innings last night. He struck out 8. He did give up a run. I'm glad you brought up Jeff Christie because Drew Christo is different because he's an in-state guy. And he had all this hype coming out. Was he going to go to Nebraska? Was he going to go to the draft? And then you expected him. And I said on air, hey, man, that guy's got a chance as a freshman, depending on his fall, to work himself into a weekend spot.
Yep.
And he got lit up right away when he showed up in Lincoln. It was like, wow, welcome. And people were like, there's something not right here.
Mm-hmm.
And you saw last year, his confidence went south.
Yep.
And he had no confidence in any pitch that he was throwing.
Nope.
And even at the beginning of the year. But then they started to kind of build him back up and build that confidence back up and pick situations for him, even some high leverage situations. And I thought last night was one of those. And he's on a stretch now, a little over 6 innings, where he's only given up 1 earned run. He struck out 10. He gave up a leadoff double in the 4th and got out of the jam.
Mm-hmm.
And, he had some good pitches to Bovee in that lineup. I was really, really impressed by him, and he threw hard. He had a ton of confidence. His fastball had some life on it. And that is encouraging because this is a weird, inconsistent, why aren't they better type team right now. They're not going to the NCAA tournament by rallying to go 10-2 and win the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have to come to Omaha in late May and win it. But to win those kind of things, you not only need a couple of starters, which they got to get right this weekend against Minnesota, but you're going to need to ask a lot of innings out of your bullpen. And right now, Nebraska's bullpen is pretty good. Not only Drew Christo, Worthley came in to get one out.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had Buns pitched well, but then had to go to Shea at the end. Garza pitched well last night as well.
Mm-hmm.
They had to go to Shea at the end to come in and just close out the last hitter when the tying run was at the plate. So that bullpen is really, really good right now for Nebraska. If they can figure out to get Olsen back on the right track after 2 hiccups, whatever is happening with Kaminska, and you're not going to need, when you get to the Big Ten tournament, you're going to need that number 3 starter. But I think right now they have a lot of confidence in that bullpen if they're going to ask them to pitch extended innings.
Yeah, and really the part about Drew Christo is, and you could see it. There was, you mentioned that jam that he was able to work himself out of. You could see the emotion when he came off the mound. He's fist pumping. He's showing a little bit of that grit because he understands what people expected out of him. He understands that he's in a crowd that's very familiar to him. Probably seen a lot of his old teammates, seen coaches, people that he's wanting to kind of show up and kind of show out for. And I think that meant a lot for him. And you have the hit batter, and all of a sudden things could old Drew Christo, from what we saw a year ago, that could maybe start that sort of dirty snowball a little bit. And so there's just a lot of little things if you watch what Drew Christo was able to do, and minimizing the amount of pitches he threw in 4 innings, being able to get the most. But also then if we want to get excited about the 8 strikeouts, well, that's where you can look at what Drew Christo has always possessed and why he was considered to be one of the top arms in that draft class, because he does have good stuff. He's got power stuff. You don't lose that. It's just more of having the confidence to throw that when need be and be able to go after hitters as opposed to, try to work away from them. And so that was big. And you think about the week this week, you talked about Minnesota. They still got a game tonight against South Dakota State too. So being able to eat up that many innings in the middle of the game too, you're able to, again, maybe go about it tonight a little bit more in normal fashion and still have everybody kind of locked and loaded for this weekend. Because for Nebraska, again, that was a hiccup last weekend against Iowa City. But as we said yesterday, I don't put a lot of stock into the midweek opportunities when it comes to, what you're trying to do from an RPI standpoint, because we all know that's not a conversation for Nebraska. They're not in that conversation right now. But when you get swept by Iowa, where really nothing good happened at all, if you can go 2-0 bouncing back going into that weekend against Minnesota, again, against a team that if you drop your guard, they could maybe embarrass you a little bit. They're not a very strong team from a record standpoint, but they're young. They got some stuff going on. If you can go into that weekend at home 2-0, and looks like the weather's starting to kind of turn for the better. I know. It looks like, now we're looking at almost 70 on Saturday. But I mean, Friday's kind of a mess. But you get into that weekend feeling a lot better about it if you can get that series win. All of a sudden, you're right back in the thick of it in the Big Ten standings where you want to be. And you kind of erase what happened a weekend ago.
All right, bigger story is, how long did you last night?
So we got to see.
That was my first question.
We got to see Drew Christo's second inning. And then the blinks were a little extra long.
Oh, we're getting tired, not like antsy?
No. He was great.
These damn late games. They need to
very,
be 3.
very quiet. He did not want to engage in conversation with yours truly.
But by the end, so he's.
You want to come back and see me?
Yeah. By the end.
That's what Uncle Gary does to kids.
Well, he did. And when he kept, every time he'd hear you on the PA, who's that? So that's Gary. And I'm serious. He did. He goes, I want to go up there. I don't know if he wanted to see you, but he wanted to go back into the press box because he really enjoyed it.
All right, internship.
But, yeah, right. But like he when he sees those, because he went to a game last year, but I don't think he remembers it. It was a Nebraska game last year over at Tal Anderson. And I don't know if he remembered it, but now he like takes things in and he's just like kind of amazed. So it's almost like a 30-minute like warm-up period where he's just kind of like, what's going on? What is this stuff? But then, then he sees Durango, and he's a huge Durango fan, and, he's fist bumping people. We were kind of on the right field berm there. And so he was kind of in the middle of it all. And yeah, he was having a good time. But yeah, after a while, those blinks, they were getting a little long.
All right. So
he's usually in bed by 8. I mean, we didn't get in bed till like 9:15.
Yeah. You know what? I'm sorry, because
the end of that Hawks game.
The umpire behind the home plate there, who was on the struggle bus the entire night, he did not help with speeding the game along.
Nope.
So there were 2 cases last. I mean, Will almost got thrown out of the game last night.
A couple of balls that were hit. They're like,
well, there was a ground ball to first base that, from our angle, might have been foul.
Yep.
But the other one was the home run, the last run by Omaha. Home run hit down the left field line. which hooked. So the wind took it and it hooked. That was not a home run. That was foul. And you saw the reaction of the bullpen.
Yeah.
The Nebraska bullpen's out beyond the left field wall. And then everybody on the field. Yeah. Yeah. It was definitely a little bit of a struggle bus last night. But it was a great atmosphere. And you know what? It was a really good game. Omaha had some missed opportunities where they couldn't get a key hit with a runner in scoring position. But there's not more you can ask. After getting off to a slow start, now that's what's benefited them the first 2 times they beat Nebraska. They got off to a great start. And they got off to a slow start last night, but they hung around. And all you can ask, they had a chance at the end of the game. The tying run is at the plate. In a game that they didn't play great, and they left way too many opportunities out there. The other takeaway from last night is the 3 guys that you saw them, there were a plethora of Major League Baseball scouts there. Mike Bovey, who we talked to yesterday from Omaha, who there's always something about when he comes to the plate, you can kind of like feel it. Like there's a buzz. And there were opportunities I thought, man, it's 4-1. He's going to hit a 3-run homer. Yeah. But you can see they don't want to pitch to him at all.
Nope.
But
that's smart.
His exit velo off the bat. I mean, he's a professional baseball player. I don't want to say major league guy yet. He's a professional baseball player. And then you have Max Anderson, who has the same thing when Max strolls to the plate. Yeah. And then there's Bryce Matthews, who just turned on a ball and hit one into Stinson Park. Yeah. I mean, that was a legit home run, which is technically number 15, but it's number 16 because of the Creighton game, and those stats aren't into the book yet.
Yeah, I think he rattled Paulie's.
The only thing about Bryce, and there's a lot to like about him, and he's come a long way, as you've seen him in person a lot more than I have over the last couple of years. Gosh, something about playing shortstop with that glove. That's like the only hang-up about his future.
Yeah.
Now, all 3 of those guys are going to be getting paid to play baseball when they get drafted in July. But Bryce, if he could pick it a little bit better at shortstop, man, his stock would skyrocket.
I still wonder if his natural position is second. I really do. And you come from Spencer Schwellenbach, and I'll even go, people don't give enough credit to, and you remember Steven Ravelis. Ravelis he was a solid, like he was a good offensive 9-hole guy that, he could go long ball for you, but he was captain routine, just made every routine play imaginable. And every now and then would make a, pretty nice, play in the hole, but just everything routine, very sharp. You could rely on the guy all the time. Then you go to Schwellenbach, who's got a little bit more of that it factor. And Schwelly would even admit that there were times that he probably overdid it a few times and, tried to make the spectacular play as opposed to, maybe not having to sell out as much. But then you go to Bryce, who it's kind of a combination of what you saw from Schwelly with the athleticism, but he doesn't look as confident when it's hit to him as those 2 previous shortstops that we're so used to seeing.
Doesn't it seem like he'll make the oh my gosh, that's a Sports Center top 10 play, but then the routine ground ball hit right at him?
100%. And so you remember they kind of bounced him around when he started as a freshman, like he was playing some second. Heck, we were even seeing him in the outfield a little bit too. If Bryce Matthews is an infielder, I still do wonder if second is a little bit more natural, because if you watch the exchange, if you watch the hands, he's got the quick hands. When it comes to turning 2, just watch him in and out. And that's one of the things I like doing. And Reese will get to an age where he can actually appreciate that, but watching in and out and stuff and just seeing like the middle combos, how they work, but just watching the quick hands, because those guys they're not executing at 100%, but quick hands are quick hands. And you can see that he has that. I think it's something that kind of stands out. I think it's something that if you have him on your draft board right now, I think you're probably not putting him in the high plus category as a shortstop, more as an infielder / maybe utility guy. Because I remember when he played a little bit of outfield, again, that athleticism, he covers a lot of ground, and he's got a strong arm. That's the other thing about it. He's got a very strong arm. So, and what you're seeing with his offense, it's enticing. Yeah, and it's going to get him paid. There's no question.
Nebraska averts season sweep at the hands of Omaha last night, 1-6-3 at Tal Anderson. Again, great to see a lot of our listeners that were out there, a lot of familiar faces. That was kind of it was a social gathering.
I'd say so.
Yeah. So it's okay.
You know what? By the way, the line, they had it down. They had like the little trailer off in the left field corner too. There was hardly any line that I experienced. I had one before the game started. and I think we were maybe fourth in line, and everybody was filing in at this point. So it was they had it under control. They had their poop in a group,
and it's special for Omaha.
I
As
like
we were
that.
just alluding to at the beginning of the show. Now next year, so the Big Ten and the Summit League schedules are out already internally, and Nebraska and Omaha's bye week matches up. So next year, Nebraska Omaha is going to be a weekend series.
Nice.
Where they will alternate with 2 in Lincoln and 1 in Omaha. The only downside, March.
Yep.
Dress warm.
Probably early March too, huh?
Well, maybe mid-March.
Oh, I wonder if it's when Nebraska did that weird Texas that Saturday doubleheader thing where it was like right around March Madness.
But you know what the weather is. I mean,
Right.
last night's all about the weather.
Could be 80, could be 25.
If the weather is crappy, you're not getting 2,285.
No.
They're going to show up for that.
No.
Now, you also got very fortunate because you got and the last time that Nebraska played at Omaha was earlier in the year. Last year when they set their record attendance. You're looking at when the schedule comes out, oh man, April 25th, the weather's going to be great. It's going to be 80. Spring will be here. The place will be packed. Now, again, they caught a break last night with the weather. It's just unfortunate that's going to be now played in March.
Yeah.
And that's Nebraska's only trip to Tal Anderson. And I'm glad that, Evan and Will and Ed all have a really good relationship, and they see the value of everybody playing at everybody's place.
Yep.
So now that you have Tal Anderson, Nebraska doesn't think twice about coming here. They don't say, hey, let's go out to Warner Park. And, Ed says, we're fine. We'll go to Tal Anderson to play. But you would that's to have Nebraska come there. That's a big, big deal. Have it a little bit in March when you're not really thinking about baseball. But
well, and if you remember, and let me see, I got to pull up their schedule. I don't think they have it. Because I one of the things I noticed about Nebraska's schedule this year was that bye week was so early. I can't remember if it was that way last year too, where typically it's usually right after finals week, you would get that kind of weirdly placed, like all of a sudden Nicholls State is in town, like in late May, or you're playing some other team in late May out of conference because you get the bye. That would be ideal if you get to a point some year where both Omaha and Nebraska have like that late May, right around finals week bye, where you could put that series in May, and at that point too, both teams they're prepping for conference tournament time. They're finishing out the regular season, depending on where you are in the conference race. Like that's an exciting time. But more than anything, both teams are probably at their best, peaking at the at the time what they want to be. But the key thing, as you pointed out, feel pretty good. Now there's always that chance. Feel pretty good though. Late May, you're going to get even better weather than you got last night.
That's why when Nebraska comes to Omaha to play, whether it be at Rosenblatt or downtown, that May game is usually the weather is good. Both teams are competing for something when they were in the Missouri Valley Conference.
You got more sunlight. The day's longer.
Everybody's feeling summer.
And you're going to have a huge, huge crowd. All right, 6:31. Off and running on this Wednesday. A little bit later, Adam Teicher will join us from Kansas City, the home of the draft. It is the epicenter of the NFL. The Super Bowl champions live there. The NFL draft. The opener to begin the season will be back in Kansas City at Arrowhead, but the NFL draft kicks off tomorrow. If you've seen any of the highlights, I mean, the stage outside of Union Station looks huge. They're expecting 300,000 people. There are no hotel rooms to be had.
Weather's going to be great.
Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic display. And I know a lot of people from here are going down because they just want to experience. They have the NFL experience going on, but just the draft. It's unfortunate you're going to have just one Nebraska guy drafted. That would have been the ideal year to have multiple Nebraska guys. But there'll be a really cool event with the NFL draft being this close. Now they've taken it out of New York and it's gone around the country, and you've seen just massive numbers,
which I love, by the way.
Nashville looked like a play, man. They got to go back to Nashville.
Vegas looked good.
Yeah, it did.
Even Chicago and Philadelphia pulled it off as well.
Yeah, Chicago was weird. They did the back-to-back years in Chicago, which was kind of weird. But then they're like, "Hey, let's rotate this thing."
Cleveland, the weather wasn't great, and Aaron Rodgers dominated the news cycle, which he'll dominate the news cycle today because he has his press conference in New York, or actually in New Jersey. So Adam Teicher will join us coming up at 9. Then Brandon Vogel will stop by at 9:40. All right, I got to read this email here about the atmosphere last night at Tal Anderson, which is such a great facility. I mean, you've seen it now for a couple of years with Omaha playing there. with the state high school baseball tournament.
Yeah,
It's
perfect.
It's the ideal size.
Mhm.
It's a fan-friendly place. You can get close to the action. It's easy to get in and out of. Larry writes in into the Equitable Bank inbox. I made my first visit to Tal Anderson Field last night. I was pleasantly surprised by what a nice ballpark it is. The only downside, the PA announcer. Man, what a jackass. Now, I read this, and thank you, Larry. I read this, and I was like, whoa, I was the PA announcer last night.
Mm.
I apologize.
Is Larry from Iowa? Larry might be from Iowa.
No, he's from Omaha.
Okay, you took a dig.
He said GBR.
All right. Well, you took a dig at Iowa about smoking. I was at that point. I was amongst the crowd, and you got some chuckles though. So it was successfully delivered.
Yeah,
good job.
I had a bad night though, so maybe Larry is right. So I made a mistake, and this actually bugged me the entire night. And actually, I woke up this morning and I thought, man, do I text him and apologize? So I have a friend named Ethan Porter that I was texting back and forth with all day yesterday about a project that we're working on.
Okay.
So who is the head coach of Omaha?
Evan Porter.
Evan. And I had just before the game gone down to the dugout and was, shooting the bull with him and Coach Strawn. And I came back up and, part of the the starting lineups is you announce who the head coach is. Guess who I said?
Did you say Ethan Porter?
I said Ethan Porter.
You didn't say Terry Porter.
So I did not catch it.
I didn't catch that either.
People in the game ops room, they were like,
well, yeah, those will be the first to tell you.
So then I was like, dang. So then
I didn't catch that.
I doubled down on it. I tried to fix it because I feel bad. I mean, I've known Evan for a long time. And just a mistake, but I had been talking to Ethan Porter all day. So then I tried to double down and I say, I'll fix this. So if people caught this, I said, hey, here's a great opportunity. The Mavs are back home next weekend for the final 4 home games of the regular season against Western Illinois and Penn State. Great chance to check out Ethan Porter's Omaha Maverick baseball team.
Oh, wow.
I did it twice.
Wow.
And then I was like, I looked at the person that was
Ethan Anderson near you at the time too?
No,
okay.
Well, his daughter was sitting next to me running the scoreboard last night.
Wow.
And then I was like, God. So if people were onto it by then, like 2 other times later in the night, I wrote on the piece of paper in huge letters, Evan. So, Coach, I apologize. So I came back and yeah.
If there's one guy
you
that
tweeted repeatedly, Evan Porter.
One guy
who'll
understand. I think it's Ev, but I didn't catch the starting lineup part of it. That's funny. And for people who know Omaha athletics as you do, Ethan Anderson, who is the director of facilities, a huge baseball guy too. You almost think like, oh, is he trying to combine like Evan and Ethan together, like make one big super baseball human?
So I messed up there. So maybe Larry, I was a jackass last night.
I don't know if he caught that.
Larry maybe wanted me just to be like pro Nebraska.
Yeah, you got to remember, even though there might have been more red, although there was a good, strong UNO following, because I know that a lot of the baseball alum were there, and then you mentioned the NIL, the bull market. They had a big event too.
Student athletes were there.
Yeah, and so I think there was a good representation. Did you see the Fiddler old school Nebraska Omaha jersey? The old school baseball jersey.
I did not.
He was rocking it. It's the gray one, and it says Nebraska and kind of the cursive, and then on the tail, Omaha. It was as old school as it gets. That was pretty cool looking. Seeing just like the different athletes that were making their way, like there were some hockey players that were there too, and so it was good. And I thought that as far as the crowd, still probably was about 60-40 Nebraska, but there was definitely a lot of good UNO representation, Omaha representation, and I love the mention of Bob Gates and Crutch coming in to close. He delivered.
Yeah,
that was right down the shooter.
37 past the hour. If you were over at Tal Anderson last night, you got thoughts. Nebraska baseball back at it tonight. They play South Dakota State. Creighton played yesterday. They have a 2-game set with UNLV. Jimmy will give you an update in the next hour on how Ed Services Club did. They play again today at 3 on a beautiful day.
Ooh.
The weather's going to be awesome here in Omaha today. 951-1620. You can always email us. And I feel bad for Larry. Should I apologize to Larry?
I think Larry feels like he's in a good place where he can poke you a little bit. He can poke the bear a little bit.
I had a lot of announcements last night. We had the person that was blocking like all of the parking lot with a car. And I didn't want to shame the person with their license plate.
Yeah.
And then people were like, do it. And
Well,
then they wouldn't move. And like people couldn't get out.
At some point, you just got to.
Yeah. Maybe Larry, his wife was the one that lost her driver's license.
Was there a driver's license? Sometimes this usually happens at the Maverick Run, but usually there's a kid that is lost.
Really?
Yeah. So you got to make that announcement.
Did not have a kid that was lost, but a kid that stole a beer and then got just absolutely pummeled by the UNO police force.
Yeah. When you say kid, you're talking like a young teenage, a punk.
A little bit older than a teenager.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But not
good
21.
tackle.
No.
Good follow through.
He got
Mike Curtis.
Yeah, he tried to run away.
Nice. Good on you, security.
I mean, Omaha Athletics is growing up. I mean, that stuff used to not happen when they were Division II. You can always email us into the Equitable Bank inbox where they take banking personally. Doug and the crew. Didn't see Doug there last night. That's okay.
He might have been at the Creighton game.
Doug was sifting through the NBA early entry draft list that I told you yesterday would include Kalkbrenner.
Mm-hmm.
It includes Kalkbrenner. It includes 242 guys that are up for 59 spots in the NBA draft. Yeah. Good luck.
So don't panic.
Gary at 1620thezone.com, Handley at 1620thezone.com, or on the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed at Gary Sharp 1620, at Nick 1620 as well. Also, portal boredom ended yesterday as Nebraska saw 3 go into the portal. One, you probably didn't realize or had never heard of him before, but he was a scholarship wide receiver. Yep. We'll get into that. Plus a night in the NBA, a night in the NHL, and much more. Plus, Colorado did something yesterday that tough convincing a Colorado fan that it was a dumb thing to do. Mm-hmm. But they're brainwashed. That's fine. All right, 39 past the hour. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Jimmy's here as well in 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley. Big names, big games. We've got them all. 1620 The Zone.
Progressive presents 10 things on a contractor's to-do list that are harder than getting a commercial auto insurance quote. Bidding a new client, giving an accurate estimate, finding affordable materials, getting a client to pay you for work you already did, getting a client to pay you, period, securing permits and workers and tools, getting those workers and tools to work together, and finding the perfect pair of overalls. Pockets, baby. But the easiest thing on a small business owner's to-do list? Seeing if you can save on commercial auto insurance. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms and conditions.
My friend and I are taking a trip to Mexico this year, but neither of us speak Spanish. So we downloaded Babbel and started learning Spanish fast.
Want to start getting conversational in another language in as little as 3 weeks? Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons were designed by language experts to be the most efficient and effective way to learn a new language.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿De dónde eres?
¿De dónde eres?
Babbel's interactive lessons are created by real language teachers and voiced by real native speakers using a modern conversation-based method. So in no time, you can start speaking confidently about real-life topics in another language.
Nosotras vamos a México en 2 días y ahora hablamos español.
Gracias, Babbel.
Sí, muchas gracias.
Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Just go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Hey, everybody, it's Michael Super for Rotella's Italian Bakery Bread. It's that time of year again. You know what time it is? Sandwiches. 100 days of the year, you'll want to eat sandwiches. In my opinion, it's the best meal out there. It all starts with Rotella's Italian Bread. That's where it starts. Go to 108th and Harrison, check out their location there, get the smells for free, buy the bread, or go to your local grocery store. It's over 100 great years serving the community and high-quality products. Get your 100 days of sandwiches in, starting with Rotella's. Rotella's Italian Bread, over 100 years of tradition.
Businesses of Omaha, settling for a website that looks like it's stuck in the early 2000s? Then it's time to level up with JM Online. Our local team builds custom websites that solve unique business needs. We're not your typical web design company. We're your partners in online success. Ready to take your website to the next level? Go to jmonline.com and request an initial call.
Life doesn't stop when cancer starts. After a diagnosis, treatment is vital. But for some, just getting there, to appointments, chemo, or radiation, is a major challenge. You can change that. Volunteer to give rides with the American Cancer Society Road to Recovery program. A few hours of your day could make a life-saving difference for someone with cancer. Visit cancer.org/drive to learn more. That's cancer.org/drive.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Omaha community for 22 years. It's unpretentious down-home cooking with French flair. Label Terre serves classic French dishes, handcrafted cocktails, and the best French wine list within 400 miles. Wow, it's a lot. Whether you're having dinner with friends, celebrating a special occasion, entertaining clients, or need a date night, Label Terre will make you feel right at home. With this week's deal, get two $25 vouchers, a $50 value for only $25 until this Friday, April 28th at 9 a.m. All the details at 1620thezone.com.
I don't know that that's a place that you go as a single guy looking to pick somebody up.
They have speed dating there at Label Fair.
This is
Le
a
date.
speed dating place.
Have you guys? This happened maybe before I was here too. Has anybody brought it to you guys' attention that there's a has popped up on that Husker Power Facebook group that during spring games and then even your random fall Saturday, that I think she's maybe a little bit older than you and I.
I'm not on Facebook, so.
But I didn't know if anybody's ever brought this to your guys' attention of like, hey, did you guys hear about this? She always has an extra game to, or extra ticket to the game, and she always makes sure in her posts that she mentions that she's single. And if anybody's interested in going and watching the game at her good seats to basically be her +1 or her date.
Interesting.
To hit her up on Facebook.
So would you say she's a silver slugger? Because then I got questions. Maybe she has had those tickets for a long time and she is widowed.
I'm going to say, and that's what I was wondering. I would say if I had to guess, because like anybody, when you see that, you're like, okay, who is this? Do I know them? I would say she's probably in her mid-late 50s.
Okay.
So, I mean, could be,
yeah,
but
maybe.
I've seen this post now multiple times, and the worst thing is reading the comments. Just reading the comments. Like,
Are they respectful? Are they creepy?
No, they're not creepy. They're kind of like you again? Haven't you found a date yet? You know, it's like,
Hold it up. I'll go to a game with her.
I'll have to find this
I just
one
want to
because
go to the game. We're not doing anything afterward.
apparently she has great seats. And I saw the post before the spring game last week.
I think that's very sweet.
I mean, so she's kind of using the Facebook group.
She doesn't look like a scammer.
I don't think so. No, I think she's just looking for companionship.
Does she look like she has priors?
Or
she just a big Husker fan that has an extra seat.
I think a big Husker fan that has an extra seat and is looking for that special someone.
What a great way to meet somebody.
I think it's the special. I think it's a special.
How to meet someone in Nebraska.
You share common interest.
Yep. And then maybe go to Barry's before. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the date would include, but it feels like if you accept the tickets that you're accepting either an afternoon or an evening with said poster.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it could. I did this in minor league baseball. We had not speed dating, but we had singles night where you had a section and every other seat was like guy, gal, guy, gal, guy, gal.
Awesome. Yeah.
It also happened to tie into Thirsty Thursday. So
good decisions are being made no matter what.
Take notes, kids.
Basically, I was like point guard. I was giving an assist and you just needed to complete the score.
I lobbed it. It's up to you to dunk it.
I don't think we're ever going to see like saturation Saturdays at Memorial Stadium, but with the different clubs and the different areas that they might be building in the future, maybe you could have a singles mingles type of event there.
I think that is very sweet. I hope people take her up on her offer to go to games with her.
Yeah, I've always been curious if anybody has. Because it reaches out to all ages.
951-1620.
Here's even more of a question. Well, there's a lot of things that I like to do just by myself. I don't have a problem going to movies on Tuesdays at $5, for $5 by myself at Exarban Cinema.
It's a good deal.
Because, I feel really good. I can flex because it's one of the rare places I'm probably the youngest person in the theater. There are other places that I don't mind. Like, I actually don't mind going to a sporting event by myself. I don't know, like, I've never really heard anybody say, you know what, I don't mind going to a Husker game by myself.
Yeah, that'd be. There's just a lot that goes into from the time you get there to the time you get in your seat to the time you leave that you probably are missing out on a little bit of the whole experience. So yeah, I come across. You say, well, that's sweet. I do. I come across as like she's clearly looking for companionship, and she's at that age where maybe she did lose her husband or her life partner at some point.
She come across as somebody that would call Sports Nightly on a regular basis.
She might. She might.
Okay.
I don't know. Very, very, very well could be.
Flaky Jake says, "Hey Gary, I have an extra ticket to the Michigan game next year. If you want to go with me, I'm single."
I was waiting until someone dropped that on you.
Now, if she does offer, now it depends, because if you say, "Hey, I got an extra ticket to the home opener. Hey, I got Northern Illinois. I got Louisiana Tech." Like, who responds?
You got Iowa?
But the first time she says, "I got a ticket to the Michigan game,"
yeah,
Facebook might break.
I know. She's gonna be very popular. Very popular.
We do have some sad news this morning to report. There's a show that has a couple of people that really, really love the sport of golf. Our good friend Tyler has alerted me some very unfortunate news in the golfing community. I've told you I like to, a couple of the 9-hole par 3 courses around town where you could go and, you could learn the game. You can also just get in some quick swings.
What are you about to tell me?
So I like going to Warren Swigert.
Yeah.
I also like seeing what the neighbors that are on the back on hole 2, 3, and 4, what they got going on. It's a very interesting neighborhood over there by Warren Swigert.
There's a couple courses I could bring up, but I'm not going to right now.
Tyler has let us know that we had an accident at the clubhouse yesterday.
Oh, okay.
So it is a pickup truck that drove right into the front of the clubhouse.
On purpose? They missed a putt on 9?
Give me the damn cart keys. I don't know. It maybe a medical incident.
Oh.
But they were deep in the heart of the Warren Swigert clubhouse.
Do we have photos?
Yeah, he sent 4 photos here.
Ooh.
I hope everybody is okay. It does not look like the clubhouse is okay. That's too bad, because that already is a clubhouse that the city of Omaha said, "Nah, we're good. We're not going to spend any more money on that."
They like to invest in the agronomy. They don't like to invest in the facilities necessarily. Yeah, clubhouses, it's secondary.
Is it too soon to ask, was the golf course still open?
Yeah. Well, that's why I thought you were gonna tell me that they decided to pack it up. So is it bad that I thought, oh, okay, that's not nearly as bad news as I thought it would be? I thought they were like shutting down or something. Been like an asbestos issue.
Like, I don't know what you would put if you shut down Warren Swigert, what you would put there, because you have a school that's basically bumps right up to the golf course, and then you have that whole neighborhood. I mean, is it big of a
build some more houses?
Yeah, but would it be that popular?
No, probably not.
I mean, here in this town, we build a bunch of apartments for people. I have no idea where you're all coming from.
You know what actually is going to be good about this? We're going to have to rebuild the clubhouse.
Good. Or
there you go.
Or they just kind of ignore that
Or
course.
it just becomes, it's a trailer.
Hey, can you put up some wood?
I mean, how many courses have you been in Omaha in the last 10 years where, like in Stone Creek at one point, you would check in, their clubhouse was a trailer. You'd go in and you just had like a little trailer. Now they've got this really nice clubhouse and a little walkout, like bar area. But the Knolls is a city one, and they redid their clubhouse, and that's actually a lot better.
I was just going to say that. There was some guys from the Summit League were at the game last night, and they had their golf tournament down at Wilderness Ridge in Lincoln. And Wilderness Ridge went from being a public golf course to now it is a private.
Yeah.
And it's a really, really nice golf course.
Is it full private or semi-private? I couldn't remember.
I think they now have, I think it's completed the transition to full private.
So it's full private.
I could be wrong, but I can't go there and play. I used to love to go there and play. It's a really nice course. But even better is the clubhouse is immaculate.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, okay, for a public golf course to have a clubhouse like this, something's got to be up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are a lot of public golf courses that you go where they go, yeah, you know what? That clubhouse, that is the best thing going.
Yeah.
Like you don't go to Elmwood Park and go, This is majestic. I think I'm having my wedding reception here.
Right. Yeah, but
so it is. So if you do get a public golf course that they've invested in the clubhouse, I mean, you're wondering, okay, what happened here?
Yeah.
So I hope they don't shut the place down.
There are city courses, though, and I'm sure people out there that have been to different city courses in different states could tell you maybe a different story. But last September, my wife and I went out to San Francisco, and I got a chance to get out to TPC Harding Park. And I'm wearing right now, in fact. And their clubhouse, remember, they hosted the PGA Championship in the COVID year in 2020. It was really bad. Run down, probably haven't done anything to it in decades. And it was bigger than like what you would see at like Elmwood or anything, but it was kind of the same thing where you could tell there hasn't been a lot of updates. You had like the panel ceilings, and you could see where there maybe was some water damage at one point. And like it just for a place that hosted a major, I'm thinking to myself, this is where you had your patrons and your players like intermingling, and this is where like maybe they had their club. Like I even got a chance to kind of see where like the locker room was, and ugh. So, and it's widely known in San Francisco. It's a city course, very affordable to play. It's like $50 to play, but yeah, the clubhouse was for a place that hosted a major. I thought it was going to be like walking out into this balcony that then has these like cathedral types. You see all these great courses that they play in these events, and I'm thinking this is where they play major. Now the course itself was beautiful, but yeah, the clubhouse was just it was dog.
All right, 54 past the hour. Hour number 2 coming up. We'll get into what happened yesterday with Nebraska's roster and portaling. Is somebody at fault if you have players that transfer before they've ever played a down of football? And also, put both hands on the steering wheel. We're going to discuss wide receivers that have come to Nebraska between the years of 2018 and 2022. 54 past the hour. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
More with Gary and Nick after this on 1620 The Zone. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can expect a little bit of slowdown near 149th along Industrial Road. And on 204th, be prepared for a minor delay near Q Street. But other than that, it looks like your commute this morning should be pretty smooth, even if you're running a bit late. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by Signworks.
Since 1935, businesses all around Omaha have trusted one sign company with their visual branding, Signworks. We design, manufacture, and install signs of all kinds, including high-tech message centers like the new installation at Steelhouse Omaha. We can make your sign too. Signworksomaha.com.
It's spring. Now is the best time to shop at Lenaha for all things garden or landscape. Our garden center is filled with the largest selection of homegrown plants, flowers, trees, and more. The area's best mulch and soil available for delivery and pickup. Rooted in quality, unmatched value. Lenaha Nurseries, 192nd and Center.
From basketball to volleyball, baseball to softball, soccer, tennis, and so much more, the Creighton sports season is packed with action. The 1620 The Jays podcast, presented by Barry Law, covers it all. Each week, we visit with Blue Jay athletes and coaches to hear their stories and document their climb through the Big East Conference. The 1620 The Jays podcast drops each Friday morning and is found at 1620thezone.com and all major podcast platforms. Just search 1620 The Jays. Covering all things Creighton Blue Jays, it's the 1620 The Jays podcast, presented by Barry Law from 1620 The Zone.
For adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy, now there's Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months, and Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Nothing in me go hand in hand. Nothing on my skin, that's my new plan. Nothing is every day.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Nothing is every day.
With Skyrizi, you could achieve 90% clearer skin. Ask your doctor about the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
At Metal Supermarkets, we're here so you can get a bigger boat. How so? We're the one-stop shop for metal, which means you can get any metal, cut to any size, ready real fast, saving you valuable time to convince your other half why a twin-engine center console makes sense for you and your entire family. Happy fishing, soldier. Metal Supermarkets, open to the public. Visit a Metal Supermarket store near you.
PACE, Police Athletics for Community Engagement Organization, is dedicated to preventing at-risk and disadvantaged inner-city children from becoming involved in street gangs, crime, drug use, and victimization. PACE provides an opportunity to develop discipline, self-esteem, and positive moral values through wholesome competition and free participation in soccer, baseball, CrossFit, and flag football. To help PACE and local families make sure kids have access to safe and fun spring and summer activities, please go to paceomaha.org to support the PACE mission. Thank you.
Tickets for less. Best seats, best prices, no per-ticket fees. Ticketsforless.com. KOZN Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620 The Zone. Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Nope, now they're calling it a home run as Aaron Judge tracks it down on the warning track. And just like that, 6-2 Minnesota.
Gomes drives one in the air, left center field, pretty well hit. Back goes Grisham near the wall. That ball is gone. A 2-run homer for Yan Gomes. The scoreboard must have blocked out the breeze. That ball just kept carrying to the right of the 368 sign, and the Cubs lead 2-0. Bases full of Cubs, 2 down, the 2-1 pitch. Nico lines one fair down the left field line, bouncing off the sidewall. This could clear the bases. 2 runs are in, racing around third Velasquez. He will score on a triple by Nico Hoerner. Cubs have broken it wide open and lead 6-0.
Pitch on the way. And Myers grounds this one up the middle, sliding. It hits off his glove, Franco, and kicks in the center. Jolks had stopped at third. He's around third. He will score. And Myers is aboard on an RBI single. And it's 5-0 Astros.
Yeah, West Side, Jake Myers. Last night, Houston won in Tampa. First time that Tampa has lost at home.
Take that, Tarp.
14 straight by the books out. Houston wins last night. Justin Steele was dealing for the Cubs. Good time the Cubs have thrown a shutout this year. They blanked the Padres on the north side. And then, how about the Minnesota Twins are going to win a series against the Yankees for the first time in 22 years.
That's crazy.
Joe Ryan is the first in the majors to get to 5 wins.
Wow.
Yeah. Also last night.
That's an obscure stat that would.
And Cleveland lost to Colorado. Thought I'd throw that out there. You guys don't have to bring that up. I'll bring it up.
I could have played the highlights. There were some.
So you could be a White Sox fan.
That is true.
They've lost 6 in a row, 8 of the last 9. It's the worst start on the South Side since 1986.
Oh,
Jose Barrios struck out 9 last night for the Blue Jays. The White Sox are 7-17.
Yeah, and their payroll is it exceeds Minnesota's, I believe. Well, I'm pretty sure it's close. Either way, what they have on the books and what they have, and I say quote talent-wise, yeah, that's underachieving.
Made a change in the dugout. They went from Tony La Russa to Pedro Grifol, and things haven't changed. One of the highlights you heard, so Joe Ryan last night of the Twins is the first in the majors to get to 5 wins. Dan Gladden, Dazzle, who won a World Series with the Twins, is the color analyst with Corey Provis on the Twins radio network. Now, he wears a glove while he's on the air. The open press box at Target Field and where they're located, they'll get a lot of foul balls.
Yeah.
So Dan Gladden brings a glove. I noticed last night at the Alabama game, Nick Saban threw out the first pitch. He brought a glove. Chris Crutchfield, Omaha men's basketball coach, threw out the first pitch last night. Did not have a glove. But I will tell you, I saw him. He was in the parking lot with his team and some boosters. He was playing catch to warm up the arm.
Okay.
So
he's smart.
what's our feeling? Because I know people get a little polarized when adults bring their gloves to a game. What about the person that throws out the first pitch? What if they walk out there with a glove?
Oh, I laugh at you.
Really?
Yep.
Man, no, I'm all
I laugh.
I'm all that's cool that you, even though it's just one pitch, it's a ceremonial first pitch, maybe you should not be on the rubber, maybe you should stand at the bottom of the mound to throw it. But if you're bringing a glove, I think that's really cool.
Nope.
You are in it, you are dialed
Wow.
in, you've practiced.
Nope.
That is
You
a
just
strong
haven't-
take.
You just haven't shown up and they just give you the ball and they're like, "Hey, welcome Chancellor Lee. You know what to do."
I think it's baller.
I think
as
she has a
hell.
glove as well.
I think it's
Ted Carter throws a first pitch. He has a glove. Ronnie Green has a glove.
By the way, so Chancellor was there last night. Chancellor, she's at everything. Has she thrown out a first pitch? She has to have, right?
Yeah, I would imagine
Okay.
last year.
So I think the most baller thing is you come out there, no glove, and you just pump a strike.
No,
That is
no.
cool. That is so cool. You get the glove, and it's almost like, all right, now you're using this as sort of a security blanket. I'm not a fan. I feel like you go out, you take care of business, no gloves and all. You don't need it.
Oh, this is great. I'm going to send you a picture of Saban. So Saban's got his glove. He's even got the one finger out as he delivers the ceremonial first pitch.
It'd be okay. Good for Nick Saban to have the finger out, because it's weird when you can tell people who haven't wore a glove regularly when they've got all fingers accounted for inside the glove. Was it like a special Alabama looking glove?
It's a red glove.
Okay.
I'm going to say that it's his.
All right, so let me backtrack just a moment. If you have like a special, maybe it was a gift from the baseball team. Usually you get a jersey, but maybe if a baseball team, part of the honorary first pitch tosser, throwing out the first pitch, they give you a glove. Yeah, okay, cool. Then that's fine, especially if it's got like a team colors. Maybe it's got your name sort of burned in on it. Okay, then that's fine. But if you're showing up because you feel like it's going to help you throw a strike better, or you need to catch the ball because the catcher or whoever's receiving first pitch is going to throw it back to you, which they don't, they hand it to you and shake your hand. I got a problem with that.
Now, that would be funny if the person catching does fire it right back.
Yeah, fires
to
right
you.
back to them. Hey, I don't want to throw a strike there.
Give me another one.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna let you and everybody else decide. I'm gonna tweet the picture of Saban wearing a glove last night. All right, we got an update with Jimmy here in just a moment, and this is going to lead to a discussion. So yesterday is Nebraska has to whittle the roster down to 85, and it started yesterday with scholarship guys: Richard Torres, Logan Smothers. Good on Logan Smothers.
Mm-hmm.
Grad transfer, 3 years to get his degree.
Yeah.
So 2 quarterbacks are out. So Nebraska right now is at 4 scholarship quarterbacks. Probably the right number. I almost think Rule would like 3 and then maybe a walk-on or 2. And it's going to take some time at certain position groups like defensive back and wide receiver and quarterback to maneuver the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a plethora of DBs and wide receivers, and the wide receiver room lost one yesterday in Victor Jones. I don't think it's a good thing when the reaction to when you go in the portal as a scholarship guy is, I didn't know they were still here.
Yep.
Or, who is that? So we're going to play a little game, and then on the other side of the update, in the next segment, we're going to react to this. But I want to just point out that the wide receiver room, which for the 3rd straight year, more than likely, the leading wide receiver will be a portal guy.
Yep.
Torrey to Palmer to Kemp. Just going to do this. People can sit on this for a moment, and then you can react. And I'm going to tell you, kids, this is not safe for work. These are wide receivers that have committed to the University of Nebraska beginning in 2018. Justin McGriff, Katarian Legrone, Mike Williams, Dominic Watt, Andre Hunt. 2019, Jamie Nance, Demarion Houston. 2020, Xavier Betts, Will Nixon, Omar Manning, Alante Brown, Marcus Fleming. 2021, Sean Hardy, Latrell Neville, Kamani Grimes. 2022, Victor Jones, DeColdis Crawford, Janarian Bonner. The only thing left is Xavier Betts and his 400-plus receiving yards.
Yep.
That is wide receivers that signed with the University of Nebraska between 2018 and 2022. We'll talk about it coming up in the next segment. As Victor Jones, and there will probably be another wide receiver or two that will leave Nebraska. Then you compare, by the way, so I want to be positive here. Then you compare what I just went through from 18 to 22 to look at the wide receiver class in 23, and you're feeling for the Malachi Colemans, the Jalen Lloyds that committed to Nebraska. All right, there was Nebraska-Omaha baseball last night. Nebraska won 6-3 over Omaha. Tal Anderson. Creighton was in action as well. Here's Jimmy with an update.
They were, and they lost. They fell behind. That sounds negative. They fell behind 8-0, trailed 10-4 going to the ninth inning to UNLV. And they rallied, but they came up short, losing 10-7 last night at the Chuck. The loss drops Creighton to 18-15 on the season. The Rebels are now 16-22. Same two teams this afternoon at 3 o'clock at the Chuck if you'd like to go to a baseball game on a gorgeous afternoon. No, there's no sarcasm. It really is going to be a nice day. The Big Ten announced their men's basketball matchups for next season. Nebraska men's basketball will host Big Ten regular season and tournament champion Purdue next season at PBA, as well as 4 other NCAA tournament teams. Their single-play home games for next season are Michigan State, Penn State, and Purdue, while the Huskers' single-play road games are Illinois, Iowa, and Maryland. The Huskers will face the other 7 teams. If you're scoring in homes, Indiana, Michigan, Minnesota, Northwestern, Ohio State, Rutgers, and Wisconsin twice during the season. In total, the Huskers will host 5 Big Ten teams that made the tournament. The reigning champion Boilermakers, Big Ten tournament runner-up Penn State will have a new coach next season, and a Sweet 16 participant Michigan State, as well as Indiana, Northwestern. The slate includes road games against 5 tournament teams. That's Illinois, Iowa, Turtle, Indiana, and Northwestern. In the NBA, 2 teams were eliminated last night, and one of them was not the Atlanta Hawks. Behind Trae Young's 38 points, including Atlanta's last 14, and the game winner over Jaylen Brown with 2.1 seconds to play as the Hawks erase a 13-point fourth quarter deficit to win 119-117. The 2 teams will go back to Atlanta for Game 6, and DeJounte Murray will rejoin the team after his 1-game suspension for making contact with an official in Sunday night's Game 4. The Nuggets rally from 15 points down. Good on the Timberwolves for hanging around and not mailing it in. They send the T-Wolves home for the summer, beating them 115-112. Denver will face Devin Booker and the Phoenix Suns in round 2 as he scores 47 points. They knock out the LA Clippers 136-130. The Clippers were down 20, cut the deficit down to 2 in the fourth quarter, so they did not mail it in as well. Kevin Durant added 31. That semifinal series will start this weekend. Afterwards, Ty Lue was emotional as he opened his news conference after the Clippers' season-ending loss by thanking the fans, coaching staff, players, ownership, management, and organization as a whole for the support they've given him as a head coach the past 3 seasons. He was very reflective when speaking about his Clippers tenure and said he very much expects to return next season after a very frustrating season filled with lingering uncertainty over the health and availability of his 2 stars, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. They asked him, will he be back next year? And he said, yes, sir. And as he should. I mean, come on. He never had, what do you say, maybe 20, 25 games. He even had his guys. Like, they never really had their team.
Does Tyronn Lue, so he won an NBA championship, but it was, well, you won it with LeBron.
Yeah.
And then he got the Ziggy in Cleveland. And he could have been back with LeBron with the Lakers. He ends up with the Clippers. And issues with not having the availability of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, and they've got one more year of those 2 together, and it seems like whatever this Clipper era is might be coming to an end. I think what Tyronn Lue did during this season with you don't know from day to day who's going to be in your lineup, and then Russell Westbrook joins you.
I think it's his best job.
It may be one of his best jobs. At some point, he has to get credit for being a really, really good NBA coach.
Exactly.
Because last night, Devin Booker went crazy in the third quarter. I mean, he absolutely went off. And Devin Booker in the first round has been the best player of anybody in the postseason. And that game was 17 going into the fourth quarter. And
every reason to be.
I almost gave up on it because it was like, the Clippers just look, now they've hit the wall. The Clippers made a game of it. They did not turtle. I feel bad for Tyronn because he's a good coach and he hasn't had he hasn't had a full team, and you always have to answer the questions about Kawhi. hey, what's going on with Kawhi? Now, I believe
Hey, I
here,
know that.
I believe here Kawhi is not good. I mean, this is a legit injury.
Mhm.
He just can't move. But availability is everything. I agree, Jimmy. I think this is one of T. Lou's best coaching seasons.
If people question whether he is a good head coach this year, confirms dude can coach.
Yeah,
He's a damn good NBA coach.
I mean, remember when Spo was kind of trying to
that's a good
separate himself from the whole, well, you're LeBron's guy, you've got that group, and he's shown, you know what, I can actually be successful outside of a big three or outside of that dynamic. I think this is that year for Ty, is that he has shown that not only outside of the LeBron factor, but also having guys out of your lineup and being able to juggle that. And you brought up probably the biggest thing too in introducing Russell Westbrook into the lineup,
which is really delicate and
environment
hard
late.
to do.
Exactly. That takes some managing on a head coach's part. And so I think if you're looking for another example of a former LeBron guy sort of separating himself from that and still showing he can coach, this would be that year.
All right, coming up after the break, we will get back to what I just ran through in wide receivers between 18 and 22. But there's a bigger story here. So when a player transfers and leaves the program without ever playing a game, like a Victor Jones or a Richard Torres, is there someone that is at fault? Is it the coach? Is it the player? Is it both? Or is it nobody is at fault? It just didn't work out. But that is happening more and more at Nebraska. We'll try and figure out a reason why when we come back. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone. All right, you can figure out a reason why you should find your way, put it in your GPS, your maps, whatever you use, and go to Woodhouse Buick GMC at 119th and I to find the vehicle that you want today. That's right. You're looking for that stylish SUV that fits the family comfortably. You got a big trip this weekend, maybe going to the draft. Also, the Royals are in town this weekend. There's a lot of stuff going on in Kansas City. You got sports that is going on. So you got to haul a lot of sporting equipment, or you're going camping, you're going fishing, you're going hunting, whatever you may be doing. You can find an SUV that fits the whole family comfortably and got great cargo space, plus the capable trucks, light duty for you. You can find them all in person at Woodhouse Buick GMC, located at 119th and I. They really have something for everyone. Now, they've made it very easy on you to purchase a vehicle. You can do it in person or online, where you can see all of the same inventory, chat with a sales team member, WoodhouseBuickGMC.com, and take advantage right now of some great deals. And these are only through the end of the month, and you got to see the dealer for details. You can receive $3,000 off MSRP on the 22 GMC Sierra 1500 SLT, or receive $1,750 off MSRP on the 23 Buick Envision. Again, see dealer for details. These expire at the end of the month, so you don't have a lot of time. In store, 119th and I, or online at WoodhouseBuickGMC.com. GMC, we are professional grade.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. Previously on The Crossover.
I couldn't imagine my life without cream cheese and
You
cruise
can't
control.
imagine your life without cream cheese, really?
Yeah,
Really?
You should put it on a shirt. I know two absolutes in this world: cream cheese and cruise control.
Which, by the way, would make a heck of a name for a blog.
I'm adding
Or
that to my band
podcast.
name list.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley, The Connor Happer Show. Unsportsmanlike conduct. 6A to 6P, 1620, The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from Canoyer Garden Center and KETV Newswatch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
A beautiful spring day ahead for Wednesday. Expect partly to mostly sunny skies with a light southeast breeze. Highs climbing into the upper 60s. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can expect a significant delay from 96th to 90th along L Street. On Dodge, things are starting to slow down a little bit from 80th to 72nd, and on Center, be prepared for a little bit of slowdown from 192nd to 175th. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time saving traffic is brought to you by Nanfito Heating and Cooling.
Don't sweat it. Air conditioning season is coming, and Nanfito Heating and Cooling, your Rude Pro partner, will get your unit cooling you off this summer. Residential installation, repair, and maintenance on all brands. Schedule your appointment now at nanfitoheatingandcooling.com.
Watching a ball game at Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill is pretty awesome. Oscar's offers the MLB package, so your team is always on their upgraded audio-video system, and nothing is better than watching the game with a cold frosty one, Oscar's Pizza, or award-winning char-buffed wings. And with daily lunch and dinner specials, it's really a no-brainer. So get ready to watch your favorite team play ball at Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill, 173rd and West Center Road, and takeout at 162nd and Maple.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right. Get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
I didn't ask to be thrown in the streets with nowhere to go, but I did ask for, and Covenant House.
1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year. For these kids who didn't ask to be put in this unthinkable situation, Covenant House is there, providing hot meals, a safe place to sleep, medical care, and love.
They just really genuinely just wanted to help me succeed, and I'm succeeding.
To learn more, go to safeplacetosleep.org today.
Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. EquitableOnline.com.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
All right, welcome back in. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. 1620 The Zone. Jimmy here as well. Respect our decision to play that kind of music.
Yeah.
Richard Torres had a nice goodbye yesterday. Please respect my decision. What if people say no? You know what? I'm not feeling it, Richard. I think you should stay at Nebraska. I think somebody made a mistake. I wish you would stay and not go to UTSA or Incarnate Word.
No, Incarnate Word very good too. Cam Ward.
Jimmy said Texas San Antonio, which is a really good program.
That could be a good fit.
Incarnate Word would be a nice fit for him back home in San Antonio.
I went to Spurs basketball camp at Incarnate Word once.
And no, Jimmy was not playing the song "Stupefied." You feel like that was a stupid decision on the part of Richard Torres. Or were you? I don't know. I mean, you go theme sometimes.
True,
so.
but that one was just was stuck in my head and did not have bad words.
You're stupefied on a Wednesday.
So his is a situation where it's the great unknown. You got to see him on Saturday in the spring game, and okay, but he hasn't. Really, nobody knows much about him, and he didn't ball out.
Nope. And injury his senior year really hurt him.
It did.
Obviously,
It did. And that was he suffered that injury after he committed to Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
Nebraska, stuck with the commitment, and rightfully so. They did right by him. But you had an OC change, you had an offense change, and he got caught in no man's land, and it didn't work out. So that actually, I would have liked to see a little bit more from him. So like another year. But it makes sense. He wants to play, and this isn't the offense for him. Now, we'll get into Logan Smothers because that one is a really interesting one in his career at Nebraska. And there's a possibility that Logan Smothers could come back, even though I doubt it. I mean, there are going to be schools in Alabama back in his home state that want him. So the other guy that portaled yesterday, and there's going to be more probably today and over the course of the rest of the week. But right now, I don't think anybody would fall under the heading of a surprise. You could maybe engage me in a conversation about Logan Smothers. But Victor Jones decides to leave, and I ran through the list of wide receivers that are no longer here or were minimal contributors. It's startling.
It is.
And it's something that's going to plague Nebraska still for a little bit. I mean, they're going to have a reset on the distribution of scholarships and how they're building out how many they devote to linebacker, defensive back, so on and so forth. But when you see a guy like Victor Jones or Richard Torres that have never played a down at Nebraska or at their respective school and they leave before they ever play, you try and figure out why. And I know Nebraska has not been great at developing players. But you know what my theme is right now? I'm more on the evaluation part. So Victor Jones, coming out of Orlando, was a 3-star wide receiver in the class of 2022. Another Florida kid. Before he ever got to Nebraska, to play in the Big Ten, to play in your offense, should he have been here? Because there's the part of we like to chase stars and get that ready-made guy and believe that, yeah, we can coach him up. But I think another part of this whole 5-7 year stretch of just complete misses in recruiting class is the poor evaluation. Just, hey, that guy looks good on film. That guy's got 4 stars. Let's give him a scholarship. Let's wine and dine him. Hey, we got a commitment from him. When have you done your homework and you have good enough eyes as an evaluator, you can go, that guy fits what we're doing, and that guy can play in the Big Ten. I will always, about this discussion, about the talent and evaluation and development, Mickey Joseph was on this radio station shortly after he got the job. And he was out recruiting. I remember this. We had him on the air, and he was pretty honest, and people were like, oh, my gosh, love Mickey. But should he be saying that? He was down in Atlanta recruiting. And we asked him, what are you looking for? Because that was Mickey's thing. He could recruit. He could find guys.
Yeah.
And he said, I got to get some fellas. I've been watching tape, and we got some guys that I wonder why they're here. Now, I think he was mostly referring to his wide receiver room.
Yeah.
Because he hadn't had time to look at more tape of, all of Nebraska. He said, we got to get some guys. We got some guys that just can't be here. And so I went, well, what if they look like and I'm thinking, man, they don't develop very well. So even if you have a kid that's a project, you're not even giving him a chance before he steps on campus. I'm going to use a guy, and for all intents and purposes, he is an outstanding young man, Emmett Johnson. So Emmett Johnson is way down on the running back depth chart currently at Nebraska. But he's a good teammate. People like him. He's got a great personality. I don't know what his path is to getting multiple carries at Nebraska. There are guys in front of them.
Yeah.
I mean, they all have to ask the same question. Like Logan Smothers, did he look in the mirror and go, man, do I even have a shot to beat out Sims or Thompson? No. Okay. I want to go somewhere and play. Minnesota, you would consider, Nick, is a good development football program, right?
Very much so, yeah.
If they don't pursue somebody who was considered the top running back in Minnesota, doesn't that send off a red flag to you? They're in their backyard, and the school that has a history of development doesn't pursue someone that is considered one of the best running backs in Minnesota.
Yep.
But Nebraska, who I think they were looking for someone, and Scott was told, hey, let's get this guy a scholarship, and they pulled the trigger. And I don't know if he'll ever play at Nebraska. So there are players that are on this current roster that I believe have no shot, and it's not their fault. They were given an opportunity. They said no? Yes, they're coming to a Big Ten school. They're coming to a place like Nebraska.
Right.
But they can't play in the Big Ten, and they will never play in the Big Ten. And you will see that when they leave and they go somewhere else. It might sound harsh. It's all part of business. But that's another part of this issue with trying to design this roster is the evaluation has been so poor before guys even put on a uniform here.
Yeah.
And Victor Jones, to me, fits under that category.
Yeah, and I remember when Mickey was talking about that with you guys, and I remember that was getting a lot of chatter of, wow, that was brutally honest. And you always kind of wondered, okay, exactly who's he talking about? I always fell victim to the sort of the measurables in looking at some of these guys, especially if we're talking about wide receiver. And it is, I think, an important thing to consider on what you're bringing up there, that we just want to say coaching staff, and this still falls on the coaching staff, obviously, but the coaching staff has not done an adequate job of developing. And sometimes that criticism is unfair because there's probably only so much you can do to get them Big Ten ready, get them Saturday ready to where they're going to stand out, where they're going to help this team and they're going to be out on the field and get the majority of the reps. So I think everybody always wanted to go there and say it's just not development because, these guys were, as you mentioned, 4 stars or, high 3 stars that were balling out in high school. Yet, I don't think enough people question the evaluation process of the scholarship offer. And you brought this up, I think it was a week ago, and it had me thinking, and I will immediately go back to a trio of wide receivers that are all gone now. I think I brought them up the other day too, but Latrell Neville, Sean Hardy, and Camonte Grimes. Hardy's still there, I guess, for now. But you look at guys that had, again, if you look at their rivals or the 24/7, you watch their highlights, they had okay speed, but the size. Because remember, this was that transition from going to small receiver to big-bodied guys. That's Scott Frost. He needed big-bodied guys at the wide receiver position. Like Omar Manning sort of led that charge. Like, well, he's one of many you're going to start seeing. They're going to reshape that. So you're looking at 6'3", 6'3", 6'4", amongst those three. The only person who's done anything, and we saw him a little bit in the spring game, was Sean Hardy. Monte Grimes, I think he did a little special teams last year. But, I mean, even Latrell Neville, all these guys you felt like, okay, measurables, where they were coming from, and that type of size, boy, you think that could translate into big boy football. And then you're wondering, okay, why haven't, and I remember this last year, why haven't I heard from these guys? Why haven't I heard from these guys? When Mickey talks about the wide receivers, haven't heard about Neville, haven't heard about Grimes. I think Neville might have already been gone by then, but haven't heard about Grimes, haven't heard about Hardy. And you start to figure out, I wonder if those were examples that he was referring to that are in that room that won't have. They might look good. And this kind of goes back to the all bus team. Like some of these guys might look good physically, but you get them into the game situations, you get them into the technique and teaching what's going to make them successful, and you realize they just don't have it. So I think it's always easy to just blame across the board. Development hasn't taken place, but it's probably a fair question and a fair criticism about should some of these guys even got the scholarship to begin with. And those were just 3 examples. And that's a position that's just an example that you could probably go from spot to spot to spot and say, did they deserve one? Did they deserve one? Did they deserve one? And it's a very fair question. I'm glad you brought it up last week because I think I and so many others, we get down that path of lack of development. That is what's plagued Nebraska. Well, okay, before the development part kicks in, I think it's probably okay to say lack of talent evaluation, whether we're talking about high school or even the transfer portal or the junior college ranks. Do you have your guys that are identifying what's going to work for them, and then they know that they can teach those guys within that framework? And that's going to be interesting to follow going forward now with this coaching staff.
And it maybe give you, and I absolutely wholeheartedly agree with you, Nick. And it might give you a little bit of a glimpse on the difference in the eye for talent. Like there are guys that Matt Rule finished up his recruiting class that you went, okay, that's like Eric Fields is going to be my test case. There's a lot to like about Eric Fields. Why weren't other schools on him? Okay, what does Nebraska see in him that other schools didn't see? Now, we already know they do have a track record of development. So if they have a good eye for evaluation and then you mix that with development, then you might be cooking with some peanut oil. Mm-hmm. And before they ever get like an Eric Fields or other members of this class that fit under that bill and they get on campus, I'm thinking the evaluation part with guys that are on your own roster, when a Rollins and a Tegaloa are moved positions. Javier Morton. And you're like, okay, they found something there. So if they were recruiting, would they have immediately said, AJ Rollins, you're a defensive lineman when we're getting you out of Creighton Prep? So it's if Nebraska can, of course, have less misses in a recruiting class, but do a better job of evaluating where we look at a recruit when they say yes to Nebraska, we go, yeah, that offer makes sense. That guy can play football. Gage Stenger probably is not going to show up on a lot of high-profile lists, but anybody that watched Millard South play during his career, either side of the ball, you went, that's a smart move. All right, Nebraska, which he originally committed to K-State, and then they got him to flip. You could go, okay, that was a good, Luke Reimer. Luke Reimer, Van Jackson had him going to South Dakota State, Sunday guy. And Nebraska went, no, we'd like you to come here. And it was like, oh, I'm here. But you watched him play, and you're like, okay, that's a smart offer, a smart invitation. We walk on, then become a scholarship guy. Is the evaluation has been so poor that you have a roster that has too many guys that are not Big Ten guys. They're just not dudes. They're not going to be able to help you. Not every class is going to pop. You're going to have a handful of misses. And sometimes that's on the player.
Yeah.
Okay, the player doesn't hold up his end of the bargain.
Right.
Okay, he gets here, and then he realizes this is big boy football, and I'm not able to do the work or put in the time that is going to allow me to get on the field, and so I become a miss. And when you have evaluation misses and you have players that don't hold up their end of the bargain, then you have, like we have, and look at the wide receiver room. Those guys that I listed off, how many guys, honestly, Nick, can you say, man, that guy should have been here? You already have a position group which had gone through multiple coaches during the 18 to 22 period and lack of development.
Yeah.
Then you throw in, should that guy even have
Probably the guy that's still here, and Xavier Betts. I mean, really. Because you look at all the rest of the guys that you named off, and not just because they're no longer there, but it allows you to kind of get into the process of, okay, how do they get here? And ultimately, what was maybe between guys that were unwilling to do the work compared to guys that just probably should never have been offered in the first place. But yeah, I think where Nebraska is right now, and it's kind of sort of worked itself out to where Xavier Betts is probably the one guy that you could say, yeah, this guy he's a playmaker no matter what level you put him at, no matter what conference you put him in. He's going to be a playmaker. He's going to stand out as long as everything, both physically and mentally, are there for him. And so it is. And I think the reason we're bringing up the wide receiver position, not just because Victor Jones was one of the three that hit the transfer portal, but he's one of many in that position where it was just so misevaluated. And I'm willing to admit that I got geeked out over some of those dudes just based on tape and measurables. I mean, hey, I like the NFL. You like the NFL. We love big receivers. We love big boy guys making big time plays, and you start to see 6'3", 6'4", and that becoming consistent. All of a sudden, you get blinded by that, realizing, 6'3", 6'4", but do they have the skills, and can they be developed? Can they survive in that? And I think you're seeing your answer with that, and that is just it's a source of frustration. And you're never going to hear Matt Rule point the fingers at anybody that came before him and say, what the hell did you leave me with? But to watch how they evaluate, I think is something that we're already intrigued by. But to evaluate, and then, you mentioned Fields there too, by everyone's account, has said this guy could be a difference maker. Okay, so how's he brought along? See, a lot of these different guys that maybe didn't have the offers as far as power conference offers, but, maybe had some high-level FCS or even some group of five. How do those guys develop within this coaching staff? And maybe this is the better question. You ask Mickey Joseph, what are you looking for? If you would have asked Scott Frost, if you would have asked, either of the offensive coordinators, if you would have asked Ryan Held, what are you guys looking for? What stands out to where they're scholarship offer worthy, and then what they can bring in? I tend to think you are going to get two completely different answers from the previous staff to this current staff. And not even saying this current staff, because we haven't seen it yet, is on the right page. But I just get the feeling that you would get completely different answers.
Well, there's another part of this whole discussion about evaluation development and what comes out on the back end is it all starts with a head coach.
Mhm.
See, I don't think Scott, and there's a lot of cases out there about assistants that wanted Nebraska to offer blank a scholarship, and Scott would be, he'd drag his feet or he would say no, that some of these guys ended up being pretty good, or guys on the staff disagreed with an offer that Scott was pretty strong on. And at the end of the day, it's the coach that's got to sign, the head coach that's got to sign off on it. I'm just noticing in the way they recruited to finish the class last December is Matt Rule has more of a trust of guys on the staff that are evaluators.
Yeah.
Like if I come to you and I say, hey, Jimmy Chavez, this is a guy that can play coach. I've watched his tape. I went and saw him in person. He's a guy we can't miss on.
Right.
And the head coach goes, I know your track record. I trust you. I haven't seen enough, but if that's at the top of your board, let's go and get him. And then you become the dynamic of if coaches, assistant coaches try and fight for a guy that they like and they're kind of turned away, do they get a little bit shy and don't go back fighting for a guy?
Yeah.
I'll tell you one of the best stories of a guy that wouldn't say no. Malcolm Hartzog is going to be a multi-year starter at Nebraska. Eric Chenander went to bat for him. Like Chenander saw him on film, and when he was down going through Mississippi, he then went and saw him in person, and he immediately said, we got to have this guy. And he called up, and Frost and Chenander's relationship was much different. They were closer than most everybody else on the staff. And Chenander said, no, don't even say anything. We are going to get him. We're going to get him a scholarship. I don't know how many people were on the previous staff that they were, we got to get this guy. Even Mickey ran into some challenges. Hey man, I saw this guy. We got to get this guy. And instead of, I trust you, pull the trigger, not, hey, he's going to be brought in, but give him a scholarship. I mean, we're just starting from ground zero here. Is you didn't have enough of those guys that fought for the guys, in my opinion. Now, I think you have a different dynamic on this staff where the head coach trusts guys that make an evaluation. Now, they can't just go on this evaluation period in the month of May, just drive through Florida and just start throwing out scholarships, offers all over the place. The head man's got to know what's going on. But when you have a trust factor of, okay, I know what you've done in the past. I know what your keen eye is. I know what your position group needs. Go ahead.
Well, and Evan Cooper, I think, is the best example of that right now from what we've at least heard. I think it was one of the first things that Ed Foley talked about when he had his media opportunity was talking about the talent evaluation because they got into the talent evaluation. And I think anytime, whether it was Rule or Foley or any other coach, they started getting into talent evaluation because we were in that period when these guys were kind of making their rounds. Everybody kind of came back to Evan Cooper on that. And so, just using Evan Cooper as one guy that sort of has an eye for talent, a younger guy on staff. Ed Foley's seen a lot of college football, but he's referring to a guy much younger than him that, boy, they're just kind of mesmerized by his ability to identify talent. The other guy that I'm really interested to see on how that process is going to play out is Tony White, because he's sort of the outlier to the group where they haven't all had that connection with one another as far as how they go about evaluating talent. So maybe Tony White is one of the guys that is going to sort of have to prove that a little bit with Matt Rule. But I would say maybe that's the one difference that stands out already without even seeing these guys go through a year, is that it does sound like there is a lot of respect amongst that group on how they go about evaluating their position and evaluating talent and evaluating, their regions, what they're recruiting. So will that lead to more, roster continuity? I hope so. We're going to have to wait and see. But the process itself already kind of seems like it's a little bit different as far as everyone kind of being on that same page.
And the same page is the whole key, because, I'll use Jaden Doss as an example, who is committed to Nebraska, and he'll be here for the fall in the wide receiver room. Not everybody on Nebraska staff was on board with him. Like some of the better evaluators on last year's staff, and there were a couple of them, they have a track record of recruiting really well in multiple big boy football programs. When that offer went, I think there were some, I know this for a fact, there were some coaches that were like, no. And then there was somebody who had a loud voice that made the offer, and they said, we got to get this guy. And then it became a tug of war between, one coach wanted one particular wide receiver, another coach wanted Jaden Doss, and there were other coaches going, "Man, I watched this film. It's who has the loudest voice and convince the head coach."
Yep.
And instead of going, "Okay, all right, you can get him," you go, "Hey, what's best for the program?" That's where you put a staff together. You got to trust your staff. You got to believe in your staff. And you can't make it personal. You don't make it personal about the program and making it better. Not, hey, that guy. No, I'm not going to give that guy. No.
And
you got to take that. You got to take that part out of it when you come to recruiting. And this is just offers, not because after you make an offer, it's on the kid if he decides that it's for you.
Right.
But if you don't have a conviction in making an offer, what are you doing? You're doing a disservice to that young man. You're just throwing a scholarship offer on his table.
Yep. Because again, the player part that we talked about on, you got to hold the players accountable in some of these instances because they get there. There is a plan laid out and they don't fulfill that plan. They don't do what's necessary. That happens everywhere. It happens here. And there are definitely enough of those cases that you have to say, okay, consider that. But going back to something you brought up earlier, you can't blame the player for accepting that scholarship, especially when you were.
Oh no, everybody's blessed.
Right. Yeah. And you're looking at some of those different offers that you have, and then you look at the opportunity that you have, even knowing this is going to be a lot of hard work. This is Big Ten football. It's big boy football compared to maybe what I was leaning on, but dang, it's going to be sweet. Hell yeah. I'm going to get my school paid for. I'm going to get NIL deals. If things work out, I'm going there. And then the rest is up to you. You can't blame them for accepting that scholarship. What are they supposed to say? Like, no, I'm not worthy of that.
Make an evaluation. Watch film, watch him in person, make an offer, and then have a plan.
And here's the other thing, that player should be fully aware of that plan before they're even saying, yep, I'm going there. Because they already kind of understand what they're getting themselves into. And I'm not saying that didn't exist with previous coaching staffs, but I do wonder about the communication. I really do.
All right, 7:44. Adam Teicher, where evaluation and development is so key. When it comes to the NFL draft, he'll join us coming up at 9. Brandon Vogel stops by at 9:40, kind of along this lines of evaluate, offer, have a plan, they commit, and then that plan is executed. That's a lot about basketball and construction of like a Nebraska roster. We will talk some portaling. What is up with Hunter Salas? What is up with Ryan Kalkbrenner? And what is up with Iowa not coming to Nebraska in the Big Ten season? All of that to come as we roll till 10 on a Wednesday edition of Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone. You can make up all of these decisions on what you want to do. You got the NFL draft coming up. We are in full sports mode with playoffs and baseball. And before you know it, football will be back. And you want to go to the biggest games and the biggest shows? Ticketsforless.com is the place to go. They got the best selection of seats. They got the best prices and 0 per ticket fees. Seems like every day you hear about some third-party ticket place that charges you these enormous fees, and all of a sudden they're before Congress. You don't have to worry about that with ticketsforless.com. 0 per ticket fees, and we're going to give an even better deal at checkout. Again, they got all around the area, not just Lincoln and Omaha, but all around the area. Ticketsforless.com has the best selection for you. And when you find your seats and you go to checkout, use the promo code THEZONE, all one word, THEZONE, for an additional discount. Memories begin at ticketsforless.com.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley. For the Jays, the Huskers, and even you Jayskers, we are 1620 The Zone.
Hi, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. Great service never goes out of style. When the digital age dawned, many said computers would be able to handle many of the interactions that used to take a person. Boy, were they wrong. How many times have you called your bank and gotten a recording to press 1 or 2? Not at Equitable. Not only does Equitable answer your call on the first ring, it's answered by a human being. That's because Equitable Bank values its customers. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
Hey everyone, Josh Peterson here for my friends at Miracle Hill Golf and Tennis. The spring has arrived, which means you got good weather and you have some of that typical Nebraska spring weather. So if it's raining outside, no problem at all. The Top Tracer building is there to keep you covered and comfortable. You can play virtual courses from all around the world. And when the weather is great, well, of course, you can golf a full 18 or a quick 9 after work. 402-498-0220, Miracle Hill Golf and Tennis.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Tell us how you feel on the J-Tech Construction and Solar Zone Twitter feed. Reach Gary, Nick, Connor, Josh, and John anytime on the J-Tech Construction and Solar Zone Twitter feed. Contact the official exterior and solar experts of the Huskers. J-Tech Construction at yourexteriorexperts.com.
Don't miss this week's Zone Deal.
This week's half-off deal is $50 worth of vouchers to Le Voltaire French Restaurant for only $25. Le Voltaire Pepperwood Village is a locally owned, unpretentious French restaurant serving down-home cooking with an extensive wine list and great handcrafted cocktails for decades. Whether dining with friends, clients, or that special someone, Le Voltaire will make you feel right at home.
Zone Deals go fast. 9 a.m. Friday, 1620thezone.com.
I'm Giselle. I received a kidney transplant.
My name is Scott, and my mother-in-law has kidney disease.
I'm Miles. My grandma's on dialysis.
I'm Barb. My husband has IgA nephropathy.
I'm Buffy. My mom is a living kidney donor.
I'm Lisa Sinsel, Executive Director for the Nebraska Kidney Association. I'd like to invite you to join us at the Sheriff's Fair Color Run on June 4th at Peak Performance at 78th and Cass. For more information, go to www.kidneyne.org.
There's nothing quite like listening to the Kansas City Royals line ball to deep left. To the wall. Leap. On 1620 The Zone.
Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
1620thezone.com. Watch us live. See what's happening behind the scenes every day, weekday from 6A to 6P. Comment on a wardrobe, hats, whatever. No matter how you listen or watch, it's still AM radio, 1620 The Zone TV, now live at 1620thezone.com, powered by Tickets for Less.
Thanks, Jimmy. 50 past the hour. Adam Teicher, Brandon Vogel will become this morning. Your favorite Logan Smothers memory. Logan Smothers, good on him. He's had quite the interesting career at Nebraska, some injuries, not having a plan for him. The way he was recruited, it is actually, going back, last segment, Eric Chenander kind of found Logan Smothers down in Alabama, first as a track guy. And then they made the offer. And Ohio State, if Smothers and, the family, mom and dad are in the education business, they were committed to Nebraska. But Ohio State actually told him that if he came to Columbus, there would probably be an Ohio State offer, but he stuck with his commitment to Nebraska. So now he is in the portal, and I got to believe there's some schools that are closer to home that there would be an interest in there.
Troy.
But your favorite Logan Smothers memory?
3/4 of 2021 Black Friday.
That's where my mind went.
Where he looked like the heir apparent, right?
He did.
Because he was supposed to. So it was Adrian Martinez, first recruit. And then Martinez was going to blow up, and Martinez was not going to be here for all 4 years. He was going to be in contention for the Heisman. He was going to open the door to more Adrian Martinez's, and they decided with Wackaversko that Smothers was the guy, and Logan Smothers was going to be Adrian Martinez 2.0,
D'Artagnan.
and it was going to start a pipeline of they were just going to roll quarterback after quarterback. And then Vedral got into the mix, McCaffrey got into the mix, and their plan got knocked off course.
Yeah.
But yet Logan Smothers was still here.
Yes.
I still have the picture, and I'll tweet it out periodically, of his commitment. So Frost has got a big old fatty in, and it's in his office in the middle of summer.
Not that kind of fatty.
You know,
that was last week.
Like Frost's reaction, like you could tell that was a big commitment for Frost when Smothers said yes, and a bro hug.
Yeah.
But what an interesting career when you were supposed to be the guy, and outside of one game, you were the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And yet you're supposed to be the guy. The guy that was the guy before you breaks his jaw against Michigan State, goes into the locker room. They insert you in East Lansing, and you look okay.
Yeah.
And essentially, unless there was an injury, you were never to be seen from again.
Right. And for Logan Smothers, I feel like there's always that player that the fans sort of embrace because of what you just laid out right there. A guy that, just kind of accepted his role and was just hoping for that opportunity in better days ahead. There were, in fact, I think a lot of us, I know I was in that boat of I give up on trying to predict the future of Logan Smothers as far as what he will do, because I think maybe he just genuinely likes being a part of this football program and being at the University of Nebraska. So maybe he would stay. It shouldn't be surprised that he's going to leave and actually pursue some playing time. But, for a guy that, and God, when you were talking about the McCaffrey situation too, and you think about how a situation could not have probably been more mismanaged of that entire, the COVID year. And I get it. It was kind of a crazy time, but my goodness, you bench Adrian, then McCaffrey gets benched. You bring Adrian back in. Logan the whole time just saying, hey, I'm here too. His career at Nebraska, I think, is going to be one that people would respect. It's going to be inconclusive, but he did give you, and if they could have just closed out that game against Iowa, there would always be that moment of Logan delivered that day. And for the most part, he did. Had a couple of mistakes, yes, and we all know about them, but for the most part, he did. And yet, we're kind of left with a few moments here and there of Logan Smothers. But again, for a guy that he just hung around, I think he was trying to let sort of the chaos settle itself. And they thought at the end that maybe he would be a legitimate candidate. And then, not being able to participate in spring obviously was a major setback for him. So it shouldn't be, given what he has left and given the amount of playing time that he's got here and then the injury, it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody that he's leaving. But there is probably a tinge of surprise, the fact that he just, he stuck around this long, that, hey, what's to say he might just finish this thing out at Nebraska. But yeah, I remember I had the excitement when he committed, and it looked like the quarterback sort of chain was set up to, Adrian, then Logan, and obviously did not work out that way.
Because they didn't have a plan.
Exactly. A lot of that was, what did you call Verduzco again? Wackadusco.
Just nonchalantly just slipped it in there.
Scientist. Yeah, it was a blank show.
And so this is part of the Torres thing as well, but even Smothers. Smothers was on to 3 offensive coordinators. Like Whipple didn't give him the time of day last year.
No.
The only reason that he played is because guys were getting hurt.
Yep. Chuba had a bad foot. And
therein lies the deal. He never had a chance.
Pick your injury on Casey.
So do you think, like, Smothers was injured, so he didn't go through spring at all. If you're picking guys that you would more likely be in the portal and not be part of the quarterback room, which they're down to 4 and probably where they're going to stay. When you've thought, man, Purdy's path to playing here, he'd probably be gone.
Yeah.
If he didn't have to get a waiver and would be transferring for the second time.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think he'd be gone?
Yes.
Because honestly, how realistic is it that, and I know they're competitors, so I don't want to take that away from them, and you should always think that you're going to be the guy.
Mm-hmm.
How realistic is it that Purdy and Harbaugh go, You know what? I got a chance to beat out Sims and Thompson to be the starting quarterback at Nebraska.
If you're being real with yourself, that thought is probably not present. But you're right. I mean, sometimes that overall alpha male competitiveness can kind of blind you on what the reality is. But yeah, I mean, the Chubba Purdy one, I think is strictly because there would have to be the sitting out period. But I mean, if Chubba Purdy is playing any type of serious football for Nebraska and the high leverage moments, then there's been a major problem at that position. There's been a rash of injuries or something that I don't think we want to comprehend.
So essentially, that would be your second straight year. The only reason you're on the field for extended time is because everybody else is injured.
Right.
Man,
not the path you want.
No.
Not what you signed up for.
Especially where there's only one guy that can play at a time.
Right.
And you want to play football.
That 2-quarterback set just doesn't seem to carry a lot of weight.
Verduzco didn't come up with that one.
In modern football.
On ice.
Oh, man. Yeah. I mean, that's the path. And that's not an ideal path. And you know, I guess there's part of me that, you know, you kind of feel for the guy that the only reason you're probably sticking around is because, well, you've already transferred once. So to do it again, you got to go back to old school transfer and have the 1-year deterrent. That was not the thought when Chubba decided to come to Nebraska. But again, it goes back to the conversation we had last segment. How much of that is on the player? How much of that is on the management of the position, the evaluation of the position, a new offensive coordinator who had history with him before? You know, how much of that? Probably a little bit of both, I think, if we're going to call it safe. But now he's kind of stuck. I mean, that's the reality of Chubba Purdy right now. He's just kind of stuck.
Mm-hmm. All right, 2 hours in the books. Again, Adam Teicher will join us. We got all kinds of questions about the NFL draft, which comes up tomorrow in Kansas City. Today, Aaron Rodgers will meet the New York media. He had a heartfelt goodbye to Green Bay. Number 12 will be back at Lambeau Field at some point. Actually, he could be back next year playing for the Jets. So if the projected opponents for next year hold true,
they have
the
to.
Jets do play at Green Bay. But he'll meet the media today.
Who gets the game?
That'll be prime time.
Yep.
Hey, what question is left to ask Aaron Rodgers? Is there any?
How many more years you got?
Probably can't answer that.
Nope.
Is there really? I mean,
he need more darkness.
What
to figure
question
that out. Been in
is there?
Caves lately?
What question is there to ask of Aaron Rodgers? He essentially answered all your questions with Pat McAfee about the Jets.
Yeah. And I don't know.
Will you show up for OTAs? Is that the most? Is that the most pressing question?
Maybe, maybe at some point, which I don't think this is the time or place. Although Aaron doesn't always seem to care about that. Of his real thoughts on, because Brian Gutekunst has said many times. We just said it the other day about Aaron not being available when they wanted to go over sort of the big plan that may or may not involve Aaron Rodgers. Like, okay. Was that true? Because you also said you were disappointed that Brian Gutekunst and the Packers didn't reach out. Who's telling the truth here? I just don't think he's going to go back on Packer business right now. But that's still the question I want to know is what really happened there after the season.
Thought just popped in my head because Miami and Milwaukee play tonight and a chance for the Heat to close out that series. But I mean, I expect the Bucks just go, all Giannis all the time. Could Aaron Rodgers go and sit courtside at a Bucks game?
With his boo?
Yeah.
You still have the same boo?
I think he's got the same boo.
Oh, yeah, Mallory.
Then yes.
Yeah.
She's all over Instagram.
This is true. Even I know that.
But they've never been seen together, right?
I thought they were courtside one time.
Once.
Yeah, I think they were courtside one time.
But I don't think they were dating at the time.
Oh,
I think he was in between Danica or
Shay.
He was interviewing.
He was between normal Aaron and wilderness, darkness, granola Aaron.
But honestly, could he, because he used to do that all the time. He'd go, and he's a part owner.
Mm-hmm.
He would go and sit courtside. Like,
he's really bad at chugging beer.
Can he go and sit courtside at a Bucks game now?
He probably could, but the reaction might be mixed.
Going forward, maybe not the best idea, but if we're still in the farewell to the Aaron Rodgers period, sure. He could
maybe
be
hit
there.
it up tonight.
Yeah, he could be there tonight.
If Jordan Love is okay, you are
Well,
welcome
yeah,
back.
There you go.
Yes.
So Jordan Love's going to be up in a suite, and A-Rod will be courtside. So just keep them separated. Now, what they should do is the chug off again if you really want to embarrass former Green Bay Packer legend Aaron Rodgers and see if Jordan Love can take it down in one gulp and Aaron Rodgers is still nursing that thing. Then all of a sudden it's like, we got our quarterback.
If you want to break the
good.
internet, how about the two of them go to the game together? It'll be like Days of Thunder when they had to drive each other to the meal.
That's a good point. And that would not surprise me.
And they've got like a Mac Pro that they're kind of looking over as well, just going over future
Both of them
plays,
drinking
and stuff.
beers.
Yeah,
That's smart for Aaron Rodgers to embrace Jordan Love.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I felt that there was a little bit of he had emotion in his Instagram post.
Yeah, how could you not?
Well, he may realize at some point this season that what he had in Green Bay
pretty damn
is
good.
better than what he had with the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and think about
especially with the fan base.
When you're leaving a place like that you spent so much time, you may not like the current ownership management situation, but when you're kind of put in a position to reflect on how it all started, you start going back to the people that were there for a long time. I mean, hell, even giving a shout out to Mike McCarthy, that didn't end well with those two, but
they won a Super Bowl.
They did, and they had a good relationship prior. Ted Thompson, all of the people involved, all of the players that he's played with, that he still has good relationships with. Like when you're just kind of forced to reflect on all of that, if you can't get, even Aaron Rodgers, if you can't get a little bit emotional about that, then you don't have a soul.
All right, 2 hours to come. We'll get into some basketball coming up in the next hour, plus another update with Jimmy at 1620 The Zone.
All right, spring adventures are here, and before you know it, it's going to be those summer adventures, and we've got the perfect way for you to enjoy those over at Woodhouse Mazda. That is their CUV lineup, which you can always check out at two exclusive Metro Omaha Mazda locations in Bellevue and Woodhouse Mazda in Millard, or Woodhouse Place Mazda, that is in Millard. You can shop at either location and take advantage right now of 0.9% APR on select 2023 Mazda CUV models, like the outdoor ready Mazda CX-50. Test drove this about a month ago. That is a must see. It's got everything you want, both inside and the exterior. The CX-30, great for all types of lifestyles, no matter how big your family is, or drive what I drive, the CX-5. Absolutely love that. And you can do so with the convenience in mind at WoodhouseMazda.com or WoodhousePlaceMazda.com, where you can shop online, browse inventory, and even start your deal from wherever you are. With available driveway delivery, they are delivering convenience every time. So stop by their showroom. Once again, Woodhouse Place Mazda at 144th and Giles Road, or Woodhouse Mazda off of Highway 75 in Bellevue. Customer experience is second to none. Get your spring adventures off and running in style. The brand new Mazda CUV at Woodhouse Mazda, a drive worth experiencing.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain, time-saving traffic center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can expect a little bit of slowdown from Richland Drive to 90th along Highway 370. On Center, be prepared for things to slow down just a bit from 192nd to 175th. And on Dodge, looks like there's going to be some minor delays from 80th to 76th. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Saul's Jewelry and Loan.
What does Saul's loan on? Almost everything, like tools, instruments, designer handbags, construction equipment, vehicles, trailers, appliances. $10 to $50,000 super fast and easy with no credit check. Saul's loans on almost everything.
Duck Defense Midwest makes your home healthier and improves the life of your HVAC system. So improve the health of your home and everyone in it. Go to cleanairradio.com for a special duct cleaning offer for Zone listeners. That's cleanairradio.com.
Email unsportsmanlike conduct on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox with whatever is on your mind, from your hot takes to what you think is one. The Zone inbox is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. We want to hear from you. on the Equitable Bank Zone Inbox.
Hey, baseball fans, join the Blurred Tailgate at Hilton Omaha this June for our 11th annual hospitality event during the College Baseball Championship Series. Book an experience for your clients or employees with an inclusive bar, buffet, TVs, music, and tailgate games. Secure your spot today and let us handle all the details steps away on the south side of Charles Schwab Field. Visit blurevents.com to book your group, buy tickets, or learn about sponsorships. That's blurevents.com, your college baseball and football tailgate destination. Blur Events takes care of all the work so you can enjoy the day.
Hi, this is Kathy Canoyer with Canoyer Garden Center. The beauty and color of spring is in our greenhouse, featuring thousands of gorgeous hanging baskets and hundreds of varieties of Canoyer grown product. Come in and talk with our family of employees who will help you find what you're looking for. Whether it's home decor, annuals, perennials, shrubs, tropicals, or vegetables, we have it all. Canoyer Garden Center is located between Highway 370 and Cornhusker on 66th Street in Papillion. Open daily, 9 to 7.
At Canoyer Garden Center, everybody's got a green thumb.
Tickets for less. Best seats, best prices, no per-ticket fees. Ticketsforless.com. KOZN Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620 The Zone. And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Halftime brought to you by Heart Cigars and Pipes Lounge. Just off 680 and 48th Street next to Cubby's, it's Heart Cigars and Pipes Lounge.
All right, a little go around the room here. By the way, Aaron Babcock, who we all know.
Yeah.
Who, been in the Nebraska Athletic Department. He worked for the network. He founded Hail Varsity. And then he was running Pinnacle Bank Arena. He's now down in Alabama, University of Alabama, as the lead guy for Live. He just sent us a video of Saban throwing a strike last night while he was wearing his glove, throwing out the first pitch at Alabama. All right, I want to go around the room here. A little bit about Aaron. I mean, he's in our business. How are we with all of these articles about people that are losing their jobs in the media industry? So ESPN is going to have mass layoffs.
Mm-hmm.
They may affect some people that we know, the three of us, other people know.
Yeah, I have a friend there.
But right now it's some of their upper management, people that have been at the four-letter network for a long time. People are all very curious about what's going to happen. And then you see these long articles. Well, Nebraska Athletics, in a little bit of a transition, some employees that have been in the athletic department for a long time and have done great things, but are nearing, retirement or were brought in under a different regime.
Yeah.
They are being kind of phased out. So two guys that have always been great to me and love what they've done. And they've done a lot for the Nebraska Athletic Department, John Ingram and Bob Burton. Then Garrett Classy, who was Bill Moose's right-hand man, but his time in Nebraska was over when Trev walked onto the third floor at Memorial Stadium to have his press conference.
Right.
Okay, and his contract is up middle of June, I believe.
Yeah.
So he's not going to be brought back.
Right.
But there was a pretty lengthy article in the newspaper today. How do we feel about these people getting excited about people being laid off or not retained or fired when it comes to those industries? Because, people are like, hey, man, what's going to happen? What's going to happen?
Yeah.
He's good. Is Fowler going to be back? Oh, no, Fowler got a $3 million deal. Okay, I'm a little uncomfortable with that.
I would wholeheartedly agree. It's trying to play the guessing game of who will remain employed. And, this goes to my stance on it. I had a former co-host and we would sort of go to blows about the amount of money that, some professional athletes would make and, how you should feel about, this guy, whether he deserves this or not. And, I was always kind of pro player of, are you going to turn that money down? But the message I always had was nobody knows anybody's financial situation or their family situation or what they're providing, what they are providing, maybe even beyond their immediate family. And so when I think of people that have been, long tenured within an athletic department, or in this case with, Disney and ESPN, people that have been, a big part of what they've done for decades and have put out that product and have made that product in a position to where it can continue to evolve and make even more money and, have even more acquisitions. You never know what their family dynamic is. You never know who they're providing for, especially a lot of these people that are in great positions where they've made a lot of money. Chances are they've been able to put kids through college. Chances are they've been able to provide for maybe relatives. And so when we start getting into the, who is it going to be? Oh, don't worry, they'll be fine. I don't like that because I don't want to pretend that I know how they're going to be if they are no longer employed and doing something that, look, we all have a passion for sports in this building. We have a passion for sports in our community. And you not only take the obvious, the financial element away, but then to remove that, even if it's for a moment where it's like, oh yeah, but they'll find work otherwise. You put those type of roots into a place like that, and you're passionate about what you do. Who's to say that you're going to have that same type of experience at your next place? So it's just kind of a gross like prediction to make. It just feels icky to me.
And that's where I'm at. And especially as I've gotten older, and so you relate more to different people and different situations. I find myself relating more to, and we've all been through it where, we've been let go. We've gone through transitions, whatever you want to call it. The older you get, the more you're able to understand. And like you said, they'll be fine. You don't know that. Put yourself in their shoes. You go to work one day, especially if you don't know it's coming. I mean, some yes, but you still don't know. And then you get called and you put in all these years, and it's the proverbial or the literal, depending on where it is. You're being escorted out of the building with a box with your things on it. All those years, all those things. Yeah.
And if you were there that long, you were obviously doing some quality stuff. You were a big part of the positive.
It was your life's work. You poured yourself into it.
And Sharpie and Jimmy, you guys know this too. We're not dumb. We're not naive to how these decisions are sometimes made, especially when it comes to media. But I mean, when you are sort of reduced to a name on a spreadsheet, your value of what you're making,
your number,
exactly your number. It's the reality. We're not naive to it, but it is that you don't have to accept it as okay. I'm cool with that. That's why. Yeah, like you said, like, is it going to be Fowler or is it going to be Reese Davis or is it going to be other people that, we may know that have been there for a while. It's just not a conversation that's like, oh, okay, well, I'm glad it wasn't so-and-so. It's this person. I'm glad it wasn't so-and-so. Like, no.
But they do get, like, when you write an article, they get a lot of attention.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I imagine on Omaha.com, the story about John Ingram and Bob Burton will get a lot of traction.
Yep. Because you're curious who it is. You see the headline.
Yeah, what the headline is, two longtime athletic administrators.
Yeah, so who is
I'm
it?
actually on it right now.
I want to know who it is.
All right, Alan tweets at us, pot, meet kettle. Those same media members make a living off reporting athletes having and not having jobs.
Yeah.
Fair.
Now, the people that it's been public at ESPN, they're probably people you have no idea who they are. Unless you've been in the business a long time and you know a guy like Mike Soltis, who is basically been there from day one at ESPN. Mine is more on like John and Bob and Garrett. I don't know Garrett as well. Like that, is that a story? Does that warrant like the front page?
I was surprised that it was,
and it's not like Scandal.
No, exactly.
No,
and if it is, then of course, then that's going to get a little bit more attention.
Assistant athletic director is having an affair with the women's basketball coach, something like that.
Right. Yeah, like there's nothing other than moving on, parted ways. I don't, and especially the length of it. It's like, okay, is it necessary to be in print? Like, I don't know. I don't think it is. That's just my opinion. I know we care a lot about Nebraska athletics and the inner workings of it, especially for people who've been there for a long time. But I would ask a lot of diehard Husker fans, did you even know who they were?
Yeah, and if you check back in a couple of years and you looked at Huskers.com and they weren't there, would you like, oh, okay, where'd they go?
Why wasn't I informed about this? Why wasn't there more on this?
I would hope when I get fired here that I have a front page of the World Herald.
Big old picture of you grinning. Yeah, it's. I mean, this is the machine, the beast that is Nebraska athletics, and so even with a lot of the furloughs during 2020 and stuff, you're getting that it was probably too hard to keep up with. You could write articles about, and I think that was sort of a different situation too. But
because I did get, I was just thinking about, I did get I believe that I got a blurb when I got fired from the network.
Did you?
Yes. I bet Bishop didn't get that.
That's when you.
I might have got more than a blurb. I wonder.
That's when you've arrived.
I didn't show up on Sports Nightly on a Monday night, and people were like, "What's going on? Why is it now in Omaha? Why is Jim Rose doing the show? Where's Sharpie?"
Well, and you couldn't tweet out that you'd hit the transfer portal. You couldn't do that because Twitter didn't exist.
That's true.
So you couldn't.
None of the social medias.
MySpace. You could probably done it on MySpace.
Oh, that's true. There might have been MySpace.
Was it Facebook back then?
Yeah, Facebook was too. Facebook was more geared to college kids though. So you could have let your college fans.
RIP.
You could have let your college fans know. Yeah, they just didn't have that outlet there.
Just an observation. I'm not.
I'm
not losing sleep over this. I just thought that was kind of.
I saw
this
it
is that time of the year,
and I know you said you've known these guys for a while. I didn't even know them, so I'm just saying. You're right. If you were to look at an athletic department directory, and you didn't see their names and you knew them, would you have been, floored that there was not something written in either the Journal-Star or World Herald or something in one of the other publications? I don't think anybody would have.
I mean, maybe, John and Bob in a different world now will be working for the NIL collective.
There you go.
Isn't that what happens when you're you're pushed out the door at the athletic department? You go and you.
Hey, let's
NIL?
have lunch. I have an idea.
We may or may not have an update on Hunter Salas in the next segment. But first, here's an update with Jimmy.
Yeah, I don't have that. That would have been, like, oh. But if I did, I do have an update to tell you that the Storm Chasers lose 8-3 in Game 1 in Nashville. They'll play again tonight at 6:35. For Game 5 tonight in the NBA, Cleveland looks to stay alive, down 3-1 to the Knicks. The Lakers look to put the Grizzlies away in Memphis. The Milwaukee Bucks, the team with the best record in the league during the regular season, must win 3 straight against the Heat just to survive round 1. They play Game 5 tonight in Milwaukee, which, by the way, guys, has certainly had its fair share of visitors. The French missionaries and explorers were coming there as early as the late 1600s to trade with the Native Americans. And actually, it is pronounced Milwaukee, which is Algonquin for the good land.
Good land. Yes, it is, Pete.
Also, pivotal Game 5 in Sacramento, as the Kings are essentially in a must-win game against the Warriors because you do not want to go down 3-2 going back to San Francisco. In the NHL, the Islanders take Game 5 in Carolina and a 3-2 series lead as they win 3-2. Stars shut out the Wild 4-0 to also take a 3-2 series lead, and the Oilers rout the Kings 6-3 in Edmonton to take a 3-2 series lead. Tonight, 2 Game 5s. Panthers look to stay alive against the getting warmer Bruins, and the champion Avalanche hosts the Seattle Kraken with that series deadlocked at 2 games apiece. That one just feels like a 7-gamer. Baseball now. And this is for a certain coworker because we can't take these games for granted.
Here comes the 2-2 and a swing and a ground ball headed up the middle, and it's into center for a base hit. Here comes Hunter around third base. Center fielder had trouble with the baseball. Hunter scores. Royals take a 2-0 lead. Here's the pitch. Breaking ball high, goes past Moreno all the way to the backstop. Here comes Isbell. He scores standing, and the Royals add an insurance run in the 8th. It's 5-2.
They got a rare non-loss. Hey. Can't take it for granted in front of dozens in the desert. They win 5-4. Rockies beat the Guardians 5-1. Sorry, Nick. Cubs, as mentioned earlier, blank San Diego 6-0 and gain a game on the first place Pirates, who fall 8-7 to the Dodgers. But all was not bad for the battling Buccos as they got some good news yesterday. This is very un-Pirates-like in a way. We're talking about their history. Outfielder Brian Reynolds and the Pittsburgh Pirates are in agreement on an 8-year, $106 million contract extension, making the largest deal in franchise history amid Pittsburgh's scorching start. They agree on that, and it makes it the largest deal in franchise history. But before the deal, the Pirates had been one of 4 major league teams to have never signed a player to a $100 million contract, along with the Royals, White Sox, and Athletics.
2 of those make sense.
Yeah.
1 does not.
Yeah. I would not have guessed the White Sox in there. The other 2, I mean, they're founding members of that club.
It's what they do.
And the Expos, identity. If they were still existed, they were the founding member of that club.
Hey, who would have thought that a series coming up next month between Baltimore and Pittsburgh would be a big series?
I know.
Maybe in 1979 and 71.
The back of the days of Earl Weaver leading the O's.
Have Jim Palmer.
Manager's corner.
Jim Palmer throwing out the first pitch to Ed Ott.
If Keith Jackson were
Is
still
Tim
alive.
Foley, is Tim Foley still around?
There are some.
I think so.
There would be some amazing ghosts of those two teams back when they were something.
Both teams should wear those 79 jerseys.
Family.
Yes.
Yeah. Pops. Cobra. That's when you also had nicknames.
Yes.
Willie Stargell, Pops. Dave
yep.
Parker, Cobra.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Madlock, was he Mad Dog?
I think so.
He should have been.
Yeah.
If he wasn't, he should have been.
All right. Thanks, Jimmy. But good for Pittsburgh to eliminate what could have been a distraction with Reynolds. He's not a superstar. He's probably that tier 2, tier 3, but important to keep him. And now, what do they do next there? But it's good. I also believe that they got off to a hot start, and so that helped Reynolds' case as well. But good on the Pirates. At least they give the illusion that they want to win with a bad owner.
Exactly.
Right.
All right. Will we have a commitment from Hunter Salas today, or won't we? That's kind of where we're at. We'll get into that coming up next.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. Previously on Unsportsmanlike Conduct.
They've signed 65 3-stars.
Alabama has.
Nebraska signed 67 4-stars. So they have signed perceived lesser players, 65 of them versus 67. Nebraska, with the better groceries, has had 3 of those players drafted. Alabama has had 13. So they have developed the worst players. Then Nebraska has developed the better players. It's wild.
Unsportsmanlike Conduct with John Bishop and Josh Peterson. Weekdays 2 to 6 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from Knoyer Garden Center and KETV Newswatch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
A beautiful spring day ahead for Wednesday. Expect partly to mostly sunny skies with a light southeast breeze. Highs climbing into the upper 60s. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have a couple of accidents to report, starting with one eastbound on Dodge just before the 168th Street exit that has the left lane and shoulder blocked. So please be cautious if you're in that area. Then we're also getting reports of an accident eastbound along I-80 just at 84th Street, and that's going to be backed up all the way to I-680 and exits 445 and 446, where you can expect delays of up to 5 minutes in that area. Then on Industrial Road, be prepared for things to start slowing down just a little bit near 144th. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by IBEW Local 22.
Does great pay, fully funded medical benefits, and a solid retirement sound good to you? IBEW has immediate openings for residential electricians. Invest in yourself with IBEW Local 22. Call John at 402-973-0613.
Hey everybody, it's Michael Severe for Rotella's Italian Bakery Bread. Over 100 great years of serving the community high-quality products. Whether you're looking for hamburger buns, or maybe you're looking for brat buns or hot dog buns. There's all different sizes, of course. Breads galore for your tailgating parties. Whatever you're doing, you can get great bread from Rotella's. And the best way to do it is to go to 108th and Harrison, where you can smell all the great smells that come out of the bakery, or you head to your local grocery store as well. For us, it's buying that loaf of bread and having it in the house, no matter if you're going to be making French toast or just sandwiches. Sometimes for some people, it's grilled cheese and maybe a tomato soup. I don't know. Whatever you're going to do, you need that bread in your house. You need to pick up some today. All the great tradition and all the great quality. It's what Rotella's has been about for 100 years. Either head over to 108th and Harrison now, or your nearest grocery store for 100 great years, serving the community and taking care of you with high-quality products.
Switch to Cox Mobile and save $100 on iPhone 14. So whether you're keeping up with your book club,
It all began in Manchester.
or sharing your latest recipe, you've got a plan that fits you based on the data you need. Switch today and save $100 on a new iPhone 14 featuring the most impressive dual camera system on iPhone. The new Cox Mobile. We're different because you're different. Limited time offer for existing and new Cox Mobile lines. Prices exclude taxes and device activation. Other fees and charges are subject to change. Other terms and conditions apply. Learn more at cox.com/mobile.
Hey, baseball fans, join the Blurred Tailgate at Hilton Omaha this June for our 11th annual hospitality event during the College Baseball Championship Series. Book an experience for your clients or employees with an inclusive bar, buffet, TVs, music, and tailgate games. Secure your spot today and let us handle all the details steps away on the south side of Charles Schwab Field. Visit blurevents.com to book your group, buy tickets, or learn about sponsorships. That's blurevents.com, your college baseball and football tailgate destination. Blur Events takes care of all the work so you can enjoy the day.
Life doesn't stop when cancer starts. After a diagnosis, treatment is vital. But for some, just getting there, to appointments, chemo, or radiation, is a major challenge. You can change that. Volunteer to give rides with the American Cancer Society Road to Recovery program. A few hours of your day could make a life-saving difference for someone with cancer. Visit cancer.org/drive to learn more. That's cancer.org/drive.
Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. EquitableOnline.com.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
All right, story nationally in sports today. Aaron Rodgers will be officially announced as a Jet. He'll have his press conference. I keep saying that the first NFL Black Friday game this year that'll stream free on Prime will be Kansas City at the Jets. But what do you think the battle will be? What if the NFL wants to place the Jets on Thanksgiving? They're going to play either one of those days. More of a benefit to play on a standalone game on a Friday or play on Thanksgiving.
Because it would be the primetime Thanksgiving game, right?
Yeah,
thanks. Because you got the lines locking down the 11 a.m. game.
Thanksgiving would be TV. The other one would be Prime. So yeah, you go with TV.
And then that Black Friday game will stream for free, in case you're wondering, at home. The Jets played a Thanksgiving night game against the Patriots.
What fumble?
Just get ready. You're going to see a lot of JTS, Jets.
Fireman head.
And now will the league, will they choose slots, players over teams?
Yep.
Yeah.
I still think the Friday night one would probably be an ideal situation for the NFL. I do. There's no way, because, again, we're not talking Friday afternoon. We're not talking Black Friday afternoon or anything. We're talking Friday night.
Now, the argument here is Prime, and the NFL really wants to pump up Prime. So you want to give them something that makes people go, I got to get that. And the Jets and Chiefs would definitely fit that bill. You're not going to stick, Cardinals and Jaguars on.
You want to be a Prime member, subscribers, if you're still out there, this is how we pull you in. Maybe we'll even give you that first month.
Like even you're talking about the Peacock exclusive game, if that's Nebraska, Illinois, they picked that instead of like a Rutgers, Maryland, because they know Nebraska has a national following. They will find a way to watch that game. So if that's where you're wanting to go, you got to get something that makes people be like, I don't want to do the Prime, but I have to.
They're making money. They're not dumb. They'll get you in.
Yeah.
Rutgers, Illinois is probably not going to draw in the types of numbers that you would like.
Yeah. Watch out for Rutgers. They may steal a quarterback that Nebraska wants. I have a lot of respect for Ryan Kalkbrenner, by the way, on the decision he made yesterday. So Kalk is not hey, look at me. I'm on Instagram, MySpace, Facebook, Twitter.
Humble dude.
What other platform could you be on? Truth Social.
Pretzel.
Whatever there are out there. So he did put his name quietly, communicated that he wanted to see what the process was like, put his name into the NBA early entry pool, where there are 242 players for 59 spots. And I don't know, are there like 30 of those guys that would go, yeah, I'm guaranteed I'm going to be drafted? Maybe that's a little bit low, but at least 30 guys are like, I'm going to be drafted.
Yeah,
most of those guys are
no.
Wembanyama isn't going, I put my name in. Oh, fingers crossed.
I better make sure I put in my announcement that I do plan on retaining my college eligibility. There were a lot of those guys. There's no mention of it because they have no intention of coming back.
Yeah. But like Kalkbrenner and Trey Alexander, I wouldn't be surprised if they came back. They'd have to be blown away. But I do like appreciate just subtly kind of it fits your personality. Putting your name in, just want to see. I've communicated with everybody, so it's no surprise to anybody. Might have been a surprise to some, but we were talking yesterday about wait till the list is published by the NBA. So while that's going on, Creighton's got to figure out, okay, what happens if last second we lose an important piece? So they're continuing to track players, portal guys. Jonathan Lawson is a Memphis guy, 6'6", that they have kicked the tires on. Nebraska is waiting for a commitment. I think it'll come today. A decision, not a commitment, a decision. So I don't know if you got this last night or you've gotten this since Hunter Salas made his trip. And, Hunter is well known in this community. And I mean, really good basketball player. Took his official visit to Nebraska on the heels of going to Wake Forest. So it's down to Wake Forest and Nebraska. And I think he'll decide today. I think it will be public today. But are you getting, okay, what's he going to do? He's reached that status of what's he going to do? What do you think he's going to do?
Yeah.
Now people are like, hey, I got this source. I once was in a class with mom. I think I know what they're going to do. Or, hey, mom may have said something nice about Nebraska. I think he's going to go to Nebraska.
Saw them more in black and gold yesterday. I don't know if that's something.
We've kind of reached that stage a little bit. And I'm like, okay, once you reach this stage, just get it over with. So today, I think there will be a decision. I just don't think it'll be Nebraska.
Oh.
Now, I know what Wake Forest pitch was. Now, I have no inside information. That's a gut feeling on my part. There's Wake Forest players that allegedly are letting people know that he's coming to Winston-Salem. But, nobody knows. And that's why this has kind of become in the last couple of days, like all over the map.
Yeah.
You don't know what to believe. And then I'm just like, okay, make the decision and then we'll go from there. But I know what Wake Forest pitch was. Hey, you come to play for us. And Wake Forest is in a better spot than Nebraska in terms of the basketball floor. What goes on the floor and success and history. You come here and you're going to blend right in with a pretty deep roster. You'll be able to be Hunter Salas from Omaha, Nebraska. If you go to Lincoln, and maybe you want this, but I don't think you do, Hunter, you're going to have these unrealistic expectations. You're not going to be able to blend in Lincoln, okay? Everybody knows who you are because they watched you dominate the high school basketball circuit, and they're going to think you just arrived, we're going to the big time. Now, if you want that, that's okay. And we believe that your talent is good enough that you could do that. But you got to understand, if you come here, you're going to just be able to be your own guy. You're going to be able to walk around on campus. Okay. You're just going to be on the basketball team. You'll feel really, really comfortable. And we're going to be really, really good. That was their pitch to him. Now it's what resonates. Going somewhere else away from a fishbowl or jumping into the fishbowl and saying, I'll be the guy that can help Fred get going where he wants to go.
And this comes down to personality too, a lot of it. When given that option, use the Sam Griesel example of a guy who was growing up in Lincoln, lifelong Husker basketball fan. That was living out a dream for him. I mean, he said as much on the show. That was living out a dream for him. I don't know Hunter Salas well enough, nor is he as outspoken about any true passion about Nebraska that I could make the same type of prediction of, well, man, he just bleeds Husker red, man. That's just what he wants to do.
He kind of keeps to himself.
Yeah.
He's kind of quiet. So it's fruitless to try and like read into any mannerisms or anything like that. I think it does come down to what does he want in his basketball career? Does he want to get to the league? Who can help him find his offensive game again?
Right.
And some in-state guys, they thrive off of that. Man, I'm back. I mean, I don't think Sam was looking for that. It just coincided with he's a Lincoln guy.
Right.
And he's going to play a key role.
And the opportunity presented itself.
He didn't say, I'm coming to Nebraska because I want people to throw rose petals at my feet. And Hunter's not doing that as well. It's just, you don't know what he wants. And to be honest, I mean, I think a lot of people don't know what's going to happen. But I think something will happen today. I think for the benefit of, especially Nebraska, you would like a decision probably in the next couple of days, because I'm not really sure on the back end what their next step is to fill that role, because they haven't, they got Josiah Alec is still out there. I think he's going to Southern Illinois, which is awkward, but but you're in a good spot with him.
Mm-hmm.
I think you would like a decision so you can go, okay, here's the next step in what we're going to do, either with you or without you.
Yeah, and to your point about, some individuals, they thrive with the type of fanfare or expectations that a guy like Hunter South would have coming back to Nebraska. But I don't think that that's a knock on the type of player that anybody is. If they decide they don't want that to be a part of that experience, they want to, as you kind of said with Wake Forest, kind of blend in, be able to still have the scoring opportunities that he did at Millard North, but to not be the guy coming home and to have all of this extracurriculars around just that alone, to where whether it's intentional or not, there's just going to be a lot of expectations heaped onto you because of the overall excitement that naturally comes with it. If you're someone who likes that and you thrive in that, it doesn't make you a diva or a glory hound, but it also doesn't mean it's going to work. Yet if you're not someone who wants that and would look at an option where you could sort of blend in, doesn't make you someone who I think shies from competition at the highest level. It again comes back down to sort of your personality, your comfort zone of what environment, especially when you have options, what environment would best suit you to where you feel you can be as successful as possible.
Yeah. Like if Chucky Hepburn had put his name into the portal, he ended up back in the state playing for Nebraska. Now that's a guy that, hey, Chucky, I mean, you hear the difference between Fred keeping his job or not.
Mm-hmm.
Chucky would go, I'm a G, I got this.
He'd thrive, yeah.
Not everybody is like that.
Mm-hmm.
And there would be that, hey, in-state guy coming back, one of the highest ranked basketball players ever in the history of the state of Nebraska. Man, you're coming back to save Fred's job. Some would go, hell yes, I am.
Yeah.
Or somebody like, you know what? I just want to play basketball.
Yeah. Don't put that on me.
I want to play basketball at Nebraska. But
Right.
that was Wake Forest kind of their pitch on their fight against Nebraska. And also, hey, let me introduce you to Carter, and here's Parker. They were going to go to Nebraska as well, but they decided to come here and play. Hi. Here is John. John, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, guys. Good morning. Just listening along here. And maybe a topic you guys have covered, in previous weeks, and maybe a little too big to fully unpack. But, college basketball is kind of getting up there with the NFL now on being a year-round sport. I'm curious your guys' take on how to maybe organize this a little bit better for everyone, mostly the players and the coaches. I mean, you've got end of season, you've got portaling, you've got NIL money, you've got early NBA draft period, which I love. You've got NBA draft, and nobody knows where anyone's going to end up. I'm just curious your guys' take on how that could maybe fit together better.
All right, John, thanks for the call.
I guess what we're in, I don't even know if I would say with college basketball too. I mean, this is the product of the transfer portal, and even having the open periods. And we talked a lot about this in football too, where I think it's always going to be a year-round thing. Now, to what John is asking on how it can kind of coincide with the NBA part of it too. You know what? I wouldn't say this is how you can do it, but what I would say is you've got a commissioner at the NBA that is, I think is much more wanting to sort of coincide with the college game on making sure that those guys are ready for the league. So if I were to say this is how you do it, I don't know it well enough to do that. But what I would say, if there's a possibility to make that more coinciding with the NBA, what they're doing, where it is this constant year-round thing between college and what is going on now with the NBA, the trade deadline and the combine and everything, you've got, I think, a much more forward-thinking commissioner where that is probably going to continue to evolve. I guess it would be my best response to that. How that evolves, what it looks like, that I don't know.
And John asked a good question. I'm going to peel back a layer. I think college basketball's popularity in season has dropped.
I'd agree.
Where March Madness is so huge that people are like, you know what? I don't have the time commitment to do November through April, but man, I'll be there in March. where college football is, and college basketball is more national compared to college football and the regional passion.
Very true.
But college football now has gotten, hey, I'm with you year round. And a little bit it has to do with the recruiting and the portal and all that. I wonder if, along John's point, if you didn't gripe about the portal and instead looked at it as this is a great thing because people get geeked about free agency. We have free agency. If that would change the tone.
It would it would,
because it was real quick. Mike DeCourcy wrote a column on this, and he's absolutely right. What do we do on July 1 if you're an NBA fan?
Free agency.
You are through the roof, and you can't wait for
counting down.
You can't wait for Woj and Shams and Wendy to tweet out stuff when it opens
multiple phones
July 1. Now, free agency in the NFL is a little bit different, but it's kind of picked up where we get super excited. I've always thought this. One thing that hurts baseball in the offseason, oh, man, it's hot stove league.
Yeah.
But it goes forever.
It does, yeah.
What if there was a shortened window where you had bang, 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 guys signing, like you have in the NBA? By the time you get to the 4th of July, the big names, the Durants and those level guys are off the board. I mean, would that help college basketball? I think both sports, football and basketball, would be helped by coaches not griping about the portal publicly, but going, you know what? It's part of our sport. We got to embrace it. Because I think people love free agency.
They do. And but see, that's the thing. There is a group.
Look how much fun we're having in Colorado.
Right. There is a section of college athletic purists out there that do not want to acknowledge that the transfer portal is essentially college versions of free agency, because that is not to the spirit of amateur athletics. Once you remove yourself from that archaic thinking, I'm not saying you're wrong to want that, but things have changed and it's not going back. The toothpaste is not going back into the bottle. So if you can understand that that's college athletics version of free agency, and you can embrace it the way that we embrace professional free agency, I understand, well, the difference is pro and amateur. Guys, are they amateurs anymore? I mean, are we really going to get into that model anymore of the way it is? You know what it is. If you can quit resisting that and sort of celebrate that possibility and that offseason excitement of what the transfer portal really is in the period of time that you have it. And you're right about the coaches, the resistance, the headaches that it provides. And I know it does. I'm not trying to say none of that stuff exists. But if you have more of a positive spin on it where, this is how we can make a roster even better. This is how we can shape our roster on top of recruiting. Because, look, there's a time we get geeked out about. There was a day in February where we could not wait when it came to the National Signing Day. Now we've got that in December. Now you got two versions of that, okay? So it's a little watered down. Now you can look at, okay, we've got the recruiting part of it, but we also have our free agency part of it. Football's already picked up steam. Remember a year ago, we were here in the state wondering what quarterback is going to replace Adrian Martinez. That whole quarterback sweepstakes. And it was an offseason. It was a hot topic. And Nebraska was nowhere even near a bowl game, and we were talking about that. It kept people not only very compelled with the situation, but engaged with the football roster makeover. That can happen in basketball, too. There's no doubt.
So March Madness is number one for that sport. What's the second most popular thing about college basketball? Is it what we're doing right now?
It wasn't, but it is.
Yes. I would argue yes.
6-week portal?
Yes. Filling holes with you just don't know who's going to resurface. You just don't know who you might get. You don't know. And especially in basketball where one guy
programs are kind of redoing
can take
their
you
team
from being a middling program to that next level where one guy can come in and they can be a major difference maker. That's the beauty about basketball compared to football.
So has what's going on right now with the portal window completely passed the November and April signing day for high school kids?
I think so.
Yeah.
I 100% think so.
Here,
what are you talking about more?
Around here, they're, Josiah Dotzler going to Creighton from Bellevue West. He signed. But other than that, the November signing period and the April signing period in college basketball, it just came and went.
Mm-hmm. And yet we're more compelled about this.
Yeah. So the shifting of the sport.
And I don't think we're alone. I don't think we're alone in this room.
No, it's going to get even more.
No.
Because what is getting more articles? What is being talked about more? What is being reported on more between the transfer portal and the recruiting period. Transfer portal.
I mean, at Kansas right now, Bill Self's trying to, and he did this a couple years ago before they had their championship season, basically overhaul the entire roster. Well, how do you do that now? Through the portal, and that's generating all the clicks. That's just one example. I mean, look at here with Creighton, with all the clicks they get with, who's in the portal, who's not in the portal, who they could get out of the portal. And then if someone brings up recruiting, oh yeah. What about that?
It's the
even if they get
part
a
of high
great
school,
recruit,
part of high school recruiting, and also you got to understand also a little bit of this. And I'm gonna take one step back. In high school basketball, usually when a kid commits, that's who he's going to. You don't see a lot of flipping in high school basketball, and
that's true.
And in a sport that's got some shady dudes, usually when a kid commits to a school, everybody else backs off. Now, not all the time, but for the most part, if I say I'm coming to, Brown U, Black U isn't calling me up and saying, "Hey now, hey now."
Are you sure?
How they arrived to that conclusion?
You want a
might
tractor? We
be
can get you two.
might be a little shady, but once they arrive at that conclusion, you're right.
Yeah, but what? But in football, I mean, until a kid signs, But that's why
just a verbal.
That's why high school basketball and high school and hockey recruiting, they don't get a lot of love.
No, you're right.
Because you don't have flips. If you commit, most people just back off, especially in the sport of college hockey. All right, 47 past the hour. Adam Teicher, Brandon Vogel coming up in the next hour on 1620 The Zone.
More with Gary and Nick after this on 1620 The Zone. Now live on Twitch, YouTube, and 1620thezone.com.
If you haven't updated your windows, you could be throwing money out the window. Don't let the cool air out. Upgrade today with J-Tech Construction. For a limited time, get 60 months with 0% interest. Plus, as an added bonus, every window gets a special rated UV upgrade for free. Save money, keep the cool air in, and be happier when you upgrade your windows with the official exterior experts of Nebraska Athletics. For more info, go to yourexteriorexperts.com. Subject to credit approval.
Hi, this is Kathy Knoyer with Knoyer Garden Center. The beauty and color of spring is in our greenhouse, featuring thousands of gorgeous hanging baskets and hundreds of varieties of Knoyer grown product. Come in and talk with our family of employees who will help you find what you're looking for. Whether it's home decor, annuals, perennials, shrubs, tropicals, or vegetables, we have it all. Knoyer Garden Center is located between Highway 370 and Cornhusker on 66th Street in Papillion. Open daily, 9 to 7.
At Knoyer Garden Center, everybody's got a green thumb.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Attention sales professionals. NRG Media is looking for an accomplished business-to-business salesperson who wants to take their success and skills to a new level. Is this you? Our account executives work with local businesses to create marketing plans to help them get more customers. On air, digital, on. A sales career with NRG lets you make a real difference. Get more info and apply online at nrgmedia.com. NRG Media is an equal opportunity employer.
Tired of having a website that doesn't reflect the quality of your brand? At JM Online, we specialize in custom websites for unique business needs. Your website should be more than just a digital billboard. It should be a powerful tool that grows your business. Awarded Omaha's best web developers in 2023, we're dedicated to local business success. So if you're ready to come and request a call.
I'm Omaha Athletic Director Adrian Dow, and I want to introduce you to 3 Omaha schools that are playing a vital role in keeping our community strong. We serve nearly 600 pre-K through 8th grade students, most of whom come from disadvantaged neighborhoods. These students receive a values-based education with the family support they need. I'm a proud member of the Q's Fund Board, which supports the Q's school system. To learn more, go to Q Schools, that's CUES schools.org.
The best part of your summer night is listening to Royals baseball on 1620 The Zone.
Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Yeah, what is your go-to if you run into somebody you don't know? You or guy? Yeah. Come in, his friend. And then you hope Phil Connor, they're on you, and you're like, Jimmy, yeah, I know. Come in.
That's when you hope you have
Come
a
in.
friend with you. Hey, this is my friend. So hey,
See, now what's bad is the cat's out of the bag. If you listen to hey, what's up, man? My name.
hey there.
Yeah, when you're on
I know you know. You're just there.
You ever want to do that when you meet someone the first time, then you see them like maybe a week later, and just to be a jerk because we're all bad at names, especially like first meetings. Be like, so do you remember my name? Not that it would offend you if they didn't, but just to kind of put because everybody, I don't care who you are, everybody it feels awkward. Like, yeah, or I mean, I always appreciate the person like, you know what, I don't. Like, okay, cool.
So that's where you got to have like your significant other with you because
Exactly.
they will go ahead and they will introduce themselves and then they'll say, yeah, I'm Bob.
Bob. Hey, Bob.
And then you just use their name all the
then
time.
You go, hey, Bob and I go way back.
Yeah, and you're like, why are you using my name a lot all of a sudden? You know, Bob did this. Oh, by the way, and then so Bob said this, and yeah, it's okay. I get it. You didn't know my name.
Terry writes into the Equitable Bank inbox on a discussion about Hunter Salas. So I think today we'll make his announcement official where he's going Wake Forest or Nebraska. My gut says he'll play in the ACC, but this is all over the map, so who knows? I know this in just a little quick conversation. Nebraska doesn't have it's up in the air as well. They like what they did. They don't know. But I got a feeling that it's trending towards an announcement today. But Terry writes into the Equitable Bank inbox, is Hunter a program changer? Is he more of a draw for Omahans to go to Husker games because of what they saw in high school? He seems like a great kid. He's so athletic, but his offensive skills didn't develop in his first years in college like people thought. That's where the roster construction and
right.
If you have a plan for somebody, whether than just acquiring and we'll figure it out later, that's where Hunter is probably caught in a little bit of I don't want to say no man's land, kind of caught in the middle because what would be Nebraska's plan for him? Like, he's not a point guard. He's an athletic wing. How does he fit with the other guys you have on your roster in terms of, okay, now we got to figure out Lawrence. What is Williams going to, that's on the head coach on, okay, before we recruit a guy, we got to have a plan for him. We can't just talent acquisition. Let's get 12 guys. And then when we get to September, we'll figure it all out.
We're going to roll the ball out and then they'll figure it out.
Yeah. And I don't know. They don't see him as a point guard, but I'm also trying to think, or not trying to think, but I'm trending this way that Fred doesn't think you need a true point guard like we all clamor for in his offense.
And I would go further and ask the question from a guy on his own talents, a standalone guy without what he would be in the mix with, what he would be complemented with. Is one of those guys even available or even talking, would even be on Nebraska, or would Nebraska be on their radar? A standalone comes in no matter who the personnel around him is, could come in and be a program changer. I don't think that guy exists right now. And so can you be a program changer in, like you said, a plan in a system, what's complemented around you? Yeah.
You can get complementary pieces that they all fit together and you have a strong five.
Yes.
That would be where Hunter would fit in.
And that would be a program changing group. You're amongst a group of guys that could be program changing, but standalone talent,
but if
I don't know if that exists.
But if you're recruiting somebody, is that the line you're going to use? Hey, you're the guy that can change our program, because they also see it that way.
Yeah. Well, you got to play that game, sure.
But Terry's got a good point. All right. Coming up, Adam Teicher will join us. His thoughts on the draft, a little bit of what the hometown draft team, the Chiefs, might do. Also, the AFC, now that Aaron Rodgers officially today is in the AFC. Plus, Brandon Vogel will stop by with his thoughts post-spring and now that we have gotten rid of our portal boredom. His thoughts on moving forward as we still got a ways to go.
Is that it? Just 3 guys yesterday? We're good now?
Yeah, we ain't no Colorado.
Let's move forward.
Yeah. I'm sure that Rule will share film of Torres's spring game.
Yeah, of course. We'd love to help you.
Well, you cannot.
Wow.
Hey, you cannot talk to a Colorado fan and say, hey,
Are
you sure you're good with all of this? Are you sure that holding back a kid's film, and they'll be like, oh,
they're delusional.
Jesus, he should like hold his Glocker hostage. I wouldn't let him have his shoes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't let him have a T-shirt. Oh, hey, this is the window for Prime can do no wrong in the eyes of a Colorado fan.
Oh, yeah.
They think he is perfect.
The hypocrisy, though, of trying to.
Yeah, it's time to get rid of the Buffalo's mascot.
We were 1-11. So what if we go a half and 11.5 next year? We still got Prime.
There's the hypocrisy of basically challenging your players to go to the portal. Go to the portal. Go ahead. Go to the portal. Get out of here.
Play that intro conference.
Oh, hey, coach, I want to go to the portal, but can you help me out with some film?
Nope.
No. Wait a minute. I thought you wanted these guys to go to the portal. Now
That's
you're going to do things to impede that process?
Well, there's stories coming out. So there's an offensive lineman in the Athletic today that talked to a reporter, and they went through the whole process of how he was processed out yesterday.
It's a good read.
So it's risky, but Prime's not lying. He told you he was going to do this, but it's going to be, you're going to have to wrap your arms around that this is a business when you read this kid's story, who he was told he was meeting with Coach Sanders at 3.
Mm-hmm.
The offensive line coach, Bill O'Brien, who is, I think, a really good coach from Shadron, said, hey, can you come see me at 2:30? You're being cut.
Bring your clipboard.
And then he went and talked to the head coach, and Dion basically said, hey, thanks for the memes.
Yeah, bring your playbook.
Yeah. I mean, well,
here's your film.
He's treating it like the NFL.
Yeah.
He also needs to understand you can't treat Colorado football like you're at Jackson State.
No.
You are in the Power 5 where you'll play TCU, Nebraska, Oregon, and USC in your first 5 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
All right? This isn't Jackson State. And who checks him on things that he's trying to do that he did at Jackson State?
And I don't know if anybody
work
is.
In a Power 5 program that, they went 1-11, but, man, there might be trending to go 1-11 again.
Yeah.
My mind is what happens after he's gone and what's left of the program.
You asked the key question right there. Is there anybody in that room that's like, let's maybe look at this through a different lens?
I hope so. There's a couple of really good. He's got
he
couple
does.
of really good assistants.
But is he listening to them?
They're like, hey,
for his sake, he better.
Hey man, at Power 5, we can't do this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we got to do this differently. You can have your name on everything, but man, this isn't Jackson State.
Right.
We're now in the Pac-12 where teams are better than us, and they're in big boy football. We've got to play big boy football.
Yeah.
We can't play games. I know we got a reality show going on. Well, you're doing the reality show. We got to put a football program together. We got to put a foundation together. But you can't tell that to a Colorado fan because right now they're like, this is the greatest thing ever. Bill McCartney, Chris Hudson, Chad Brown,
Rick Neuheisel,
Bobby Pesavento, Craig Oates, Dan Hawkins.
What about Bobby Purify? Joe Klatt.
I like Joe.
I like Joe too.
He's all in as well.
Don't you dare, Joe Klatt.
We're back with more Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley returns in minutes on 1620 The Zone. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center. We have a couple of accidents to report, starting with one eastbound on Dodge just before the 168th Street exit that has the left lane and shoulder blocked, so please be cautious if you're in that area. Then we're also getting reports of an accident eastbound along I-80 just at 84th Street, and that's going to be backed up all the way to I-680 and exits 445 and 446, where you can expect delays of up to 5 minutes in that area. Then on Industrial Road, be prepared for things to start slowing down just a little bit near 144th. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Saul's Jewelry and Loan.
What does Saul's loan on? Almost everything, like jewelry, gold chains, bracelets, earrings, wedding rings, and high-end watches, guns, electronics, $10 to $50,000, super fast and easy with no credit check. Saul's loans on almost everything.
Did you know the Salvation Army has thrift stores conveniently located around the Omaha metro area, and each one has bargains you won't find anywhere else? Come in today for deals, accessories, furniture, kitchenware, and more. Stop by, get a great deal, and make a big difference for people in need. For a list of store locations, just go to salarmyomaha.org. That's salarmyomaha.org. Thanks for your support.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right. Get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
From local town councils to Capitol Hill, agents who are realtors are standing up for what's right. We're here protecting property rights. Here advocating for the issues that affect our neighborhoods. Here championing fair and equitable housing for all. Because we are realtors, bound by a code of ethics, driven to serve our communities. We're here for it all. Here for you. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
Hey, baseball fans, join the Blurred Tailgate at Hilton Omaha this June for our 11th annual hospitality event during the College Baseball Championship Series. Book an experience for your clients or employees with an inclusive bar, buffet, TVs, music, and tailgate games. Secure your spot today and let us handle all the details steps away on the south side of Charles Schwab Field. Visit blurevents.com to book your group, buy tickets, or learn about sponsorships. That's blurevents.com, your college baseball and football tailgate destination. Blur Events takes care of all the work so you can enjoy the day.
Tickets for less. Best seats, best prices, no per-ticket fees. Ticketsforless.com. KOZN Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620 The Zone. Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Man, how popular. One, will the streetcar in Kansas City be over the next couple of days? But Union
Don't
Station.
say streetcar here.
So Union Station has hosted 3 celebrations, 2 for the Chiefs, 1 for the Royals. And now they're hosting the extravaganza that is the NFL Draft. Adam Teicher, who covers the Chiefs for ESPN NFL Nation, joins us now. This is you. That's your town. This is like a huge deal for Kansas City hosting the draft.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And kind of, Kansas City's kind of in the center of the NFL universe. They've, like you say, they had a couple parades. They've won a couple Super Bowls. They had the opening Thursday night game a few years ago. They're going to have the opening Thursday night game again this year when the season begins. So the one thing they really haven't had is the draft, and that's going to be in town this week. So it's kind of a pretty cool deal for Kansas City, really is.
Adam, I had my brothers-in-law that live in Chicago. I remember them kind of telling us about the first year Chicago hosted and just sort of the anticipation, just kind of how the city, as it got closer and closer, like you could just kind of feel the buzz about it. And, from the NFL world, like right now we're consumed with Aaron Rodgers and the Jets being made official. But as far as like kind of boots on the ground in Kansas City, like just the overall atmosphere now as we're on the eve of the NFL draft, what has it been like as far as just kind of the days leading up from your vantage point?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of buzz, and there's people coming into town, and I don't know that Kansas City's really seen anything like this. It's kind of weird. I was flipping around looking for a hockey game on TV last night, and all four of the local channels did a show, a draft kind of show. Not just Chiefs draft, but draft. Draft coming to Kansas City show. And so if that tells you a little bit, they feel like there's enough to talk about that they're all doing a show from the draft site about the draft coming to Kansas City. So it was kind of cool to see, and it's going to be a pretty good event before it's all over, no doubt about it.
And coinciding with the hometown team having the last pick as the Super Bowl champion, what do you think? And maybe this will be an indication on what Kansas City does tomorrow in the draft, but how do you think Brett Veach has looked at their offseason? We're talking about a Super Bowl champion that they don't have much to worry about, but they did have a couple of notable departures. How do you think he's looked at the offseason, and what do you think he will do tomorrow with that last pick in the first round?
Yeah, well, first, reviewing what the Chiefs have done so far is this offseason. They've lost some players. There's no doubt about it, but they had a plan. They'd already prepared to lose a lot of these guys. For instance, they lost. They started rebuilding their wide receiver room last year. They drafted Sky Moore in the second round. They traded for Kadarius Toney in the middle of the season. They started to prepare to lose McCole Hardman, to lose Juju Smith-Schuster, who they did want back, but they weren't going to go beyond a certain price to keep him. So they were preparing to lose those guys last year. They lost the safety, Juan Thornhill. They drafted Brian Cook in the second round, knowing that he was going to be Juan Thornhill's eventual replacement. And so they did have to go out in free agency and get a couple things done. I mean, they cut Frank Clark, so they went and got Charles Omenihu to take his place. They didn't re-sign Orlando Brown, so they had to sign Jawan Taylor to take his place. But they sort of prepared for what they were losing. So it's not like their roster is really in shambles because of what happened in free agency this year. They were kind of getting ready for this last year, which is really what a lot of good teams do. Now turning our attention to Thursday and what they might do, it just sort of goes along with what I just said. I mean, there's some spots where they could use some help, no doubt. I mean, they could use a wide receiver, they could use an edge rusher, they can use use an offensive tackle, but they don't have to get those players in the first round. So, I just feel like the Chiefs can do a lot of things with this first round. This might be a first round surprise in terms of position for the Chiefs. It wouldn't surprise me to see them do something like they did in 2020 when they drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'm not predicting that, but it certainly wouldn't be out of character. You look at the Chiefs roster, and other than quarterback, who I think we all agree the Chiefs are in pretty good shape at quarterback, and you look at the interior of their offensive line, they're in really good shape there, and probably linebacker as well. Other than those three spots, where are the Chiefs so good that they can't use a good player to help them out, help them win some games? They're really not that good at any spot where they couldn't use a guy to come in and help them. So that even includes, say, tight end. Travis Kelce's going to be 34 in a few months. You can draft a guy and play him with Travis Kelce now and get some value out of him now, and then have him take over for Kelce at some point later. So I think this draft could go a lot of different ways for the Chiefs, and it sounds like there's going to be some disappointed Chiefs fans if they don't get a receiver or a pass rusher or an offensive tackle. But I don't see it that way at all.
Yeah, and Adam, I know a lot of GMs, especially ones that have the equity like Brett Veach does, they sort of have that draft identity, whether they're extremely calculated in the early rounds on Thursday and Friday, or they're able to get those value picks a little bit later on Saturday, and knowing that the Chiefs got pretty good draft capital with 10 picks to work with, and you got 7 of those between rounds 4 and 7. When you look at Brett Veach's history, is this one of those things where you're looking for those instant difference makers early on, but you do get those value and developmental guys. Is Brett Veach shown sort of a propensity to kind of do that in the later rounds? Is that kind of what you maybe expect here over the weekend with the draft with Kansas City?
Yeah, the Chiefs have done a nice job, particularly the last 2 or 3 years, finding really good players in the middle to late rounds. Last year they got Isaiah Pacheco in the 7th round. They drafted Jalen Watson in the 7th round. 2 years ago, they drafted Trey Smith in the 6th round. 3 years ago, they drafted L'Jarius Sneed in the 4th round. So those are four really good players who contributed heavily to a Super Bowl winning team. So, I do feel like the Chiefs, they have a lot of, unlike last year, a lot of their picks this year are in the later rounds, 2 in the 4th, 2 in the 6th, 2 in the 7th. So they've got, it's not going to be quite as easy as it was last year when they had 2 firsts and 2 seconds. But still, I feel like they'll be able to find some good players, some guys to making them a better team, regardless of position in the early round.
Adam Teicher from ESPN.com covers the Chiefs joining us. If you had a look at the draft, and this is going to be, unlike last year where we hardly even talked about quarterbacks, this will be a busy draft for quarterbacks. If you get your favorite pick and and everybody is a risk, but there are some that you go, man, that has the look. If you're picking one of the 5 quarterbacks that are mentioned the most, who would you be going with to draft number 1 overall?
I'd probably be going with Bryce Young. Despite his size, I think he's just got everything you're looking for in a pro quarterback. And I feel like, he can make it work in the NFL. So I think the guy with the highest, the highest floor, if you will, the guy who's going to be a good player, I think the best chance of being a good player is Bryce Young. So I would go that way. But, the next year's draft's looking maybe even better at quarterback than this year. So if I'm looking at a quarterback, I'm wondering maybe it's best to sit it out and try again next year. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out, no doubt.
And I want to get your thoughts, too, on the big news this week. It was just a matter of it being official, but we were playing this game of the quarterback situation now in the AFC, now with Aaron Rodgers officially a New York Jet, and it'll be announced today. When you look at what you have in Kansas City with the guy that I know everybody in this studio would agree is still standing atop that mountain of a class of quarterbacks that from experience standpoint and just overall, young talent, I don't know, Adam, have we ever seen it so lopsided on one side of the conference compared to the other as far as AFC quarterbacks compared to the NFC?
No, it's just been remarkable how just about all the good young quarterbacks have come into the NFC or the AFC, and it is truly remarkable. And now you got Aaron Rodgers over here. Now I'm not sure where to rank him anymore, after last season. I know he is only 1 year away from back-to-back NFL MVPs, but boy, it happens quickly in football. Guys lose it. They hit the wall. And, is that what we saw with him last year? I don't know, but so I'm being a little cautious with that one, I guess. I'm not sold that he's going to be the Aaron Rodgers of old. And if not, it's going to be hard for the Jets to keep up. Because there are so many, as you say, so many good young quarterbacks in the AFC. So no, to answer the question, I just don't remember this. No.
Hey, with Jalen Hurts getting his deal, Lamar Jackson is out there, and I'll be curious to see what the Ravens do with the 22nd pick, if it's business as usual, or if somebody says, hey, I'd rather have a Lamar Jackson over a rookie, and we'll kick the tires. But, that whole situation has been well talked about. If you're looking at the quarterback salary scale, because after Jalen Hurts gets paid, then there's Herbert and there's Burrow. Something or nothing, Adam, that yesterday the Bengals announced that they're exercising the 5th-year option on his rookie contract. Instead of a new mega deal, it's the 5th-year option. Should we be concerned about Cincinnati trying to get a long-term deal done with Burrow if they go with the 5th-year option instead?
No, I wouldn't. Well, all that 5th-year option does is buy them some time. If they can't get a deal done with him, sometime soon, they will get a fifth year out of him, and that buys them time to extend his contract. Not many people remember this, but the Chiefs at one point did exercise their fifth-year option on Pat Mahomes' contract. They just sort of said, okay, in case this doesn't work out, we've got this is going to buy us an extra year to get this done. So that's just standard operating procedure. I'd be surprised if the Chargers didn't do this with Justin Herbert as well, that they didn't just say, we're going to go ahead and exercise this thing just in case we run into some problems here.
Hey, what do you think? And Kansas City's deal with Mahomes looks better every single day when they got that done, as the quarterback salary is escalated, and we're never going to get, even though I want it, maybe you do, other people, hey, let's get a quarterback only salary cap. What do you think how Kansas City maneuvers with Mahomes down the road in terms of his salary cap hit and his contract, to keep him in the fold and to keep him happy, but also to be able to field a competitive team around him?
Yeah, well, they'll need to do something with him sooner rather than later, I think. Maybe later on this summer, maybe before camp starts. They're going to have to do something because, and they knew that when they signed the contract. They knew that he was going to get jumped in terms of where he ranks in quarterback compensation. But, in terms of keeping Mahomes happy, I think as long as the Chiefs are winning, I'm not sure that his contract is as important to Mahomes as people might think in terms of where he ranks. I remember last summer when the Chiefs got to camp, he was asked, at that time, Kyler Murray had signed a new deal and Deshaun Watson had signed a new deal, and all of a sudden Mahomes was, whatever he was at the time, fifth or sixth on the list in terms of annual pay. And he said, I'm getting paid enough. And we anticipated this happening. And I just want the Chiefs to build a competitive team around me. That's more, to me, rings is more important than money. No one's going to remember in 50 years how much I was paid. People are going to remember how many rings I have. And so he was really motivated to, it just didn't seem like a big deal to him. And now that he's got an already big contract, maybe not good for where he is in the marketplace, but that's still pretty good. And, so my take on that is this. I think Pat Mahomes will be happy with whatever contract he's playing under with the Chiefs, including his current one, as long as the Chiefs are competitive. If he feels like the Chiefs are building a competitive team around him. Now, if the Chiefs fall off a little bit and all of a sudden the decisions they're making with the money they're saving on his contract are not working out, I think that might change for him. But right now I feel like it's not an issue with him. And it might not be as long as the Chiefs are competitive and we're competing for Super Bowl championships. And I feel like that doesn't mean the Chiefs won't get something done with him to sweeten his deal, but it might not happen right away. And it's not, I don't think, a real pressing issue with him.
Yeah, and Adam, this is kind of where I wanted to wrap as far as, and you brought it up, kind of with what you just said there, but also bringing up, kind of looking for maybe that next guy alongside Travis Kelce that can eventually, be that guy when, Travis Kelce, who doesn't appear that he is aging, but is actually physically aging. I know every draft is going to be important. It's going to be significant for its own reason. But as far as starting to kind of shape what's going to be around Patrick Mahomes, what's going to be in this organization too, having 10 draft picks, in the last couple of years and the next couple of years, where would you kind of rank the importance of this draft class, of being able to utilize those as best as possible as far as shaping this thing so you can get the most out of what you have at quarterback and what the Chiefs have been able to do?
Yeah, well, it's a big year, no doubt. I don't think it's any more important than any other year. Mm-hmm. I think every draft is important. Right. It's a big deal. I was telling somebody this yesterday. Back in the day before Andy Reid got here, and the Chiefs, really weren't competitive most years or a lot of years. I always felt like the draft was do or die for the Chiefs. If they didn't get it right, they were in trouble, and they were going to be doomed to more lousy seasons. And now I feel like this is an important draft, but I don't think it's a do or die draft. I feel like even if the Chiefs don't get a player who has a huge or multiple players who have huge impacts for them, not just this year, but down the road, I don't feel like the roster's in such bad a place where it means gloom and doom and it means bad things. Whereas in the past, I just felt like, well, if the Chiefs don't nail this draft, it's going to be another 2 or 3 years of losing. I don't feel that now. So that's not to say they don't need to do a good job, but their roster's in such a better place, and they drafted so well and made the right decisions over the years that it's not imperative that they hit this draft. I mean, it's certainly going to help them out if they do, but it won't kill them if they don't.
Great stuff. Adam, we appreciate your time. Enjoy the weekend in KC, and look forward to your coverage on ESPN.
Hey, thanks, guys. Anytime.
That's Adam Teicher from ESPN.com. So am I crazy to think that the crazy owner in Indianapolis, Jim Irsay, so remember, there's a little history here. So 2018, they did a deal with the Jets. So the Jets gave up 3 second-round picks to move up, and they selected Darnold.
Yep.
Everybody's wondering what Arizona's going to do with the 3rd pick, and somebody may jump them. Is Jim Irsay comfortable in staying at 4 and coming up with the 4th best quarterback? Or is he crazy enough that all of a sudden Lamar Jackson is in play for the Colts? Because would you, with a new head coach, give him a rookie or an established MVP if the Ravens were interested? Because there has been no movement with Lamar Jackson.
Yep.
There also has not
very
been
quiet.
There's not been any other offer sheet from any team in the NFL. People are going, well, collusion. Doesn't Irsay seem like the guy that would, well, everybody's going right, he'd go left
Yeah.
on draft day?
Yeah, I mean, you're asking the question, is he crazy enough? Absolutely is. But what route would you maybe go here? And this is where it is just so fascinating to see the rise of Will Levis, even if it was an anonymous post that kind of dictated the odds yesterday. But also a guy like Richardson, you know, if you truly feel like, and I think Indianapolis, I guess I don't know this because I'm not in their war room. If you feel like that separation between quarterbacks 3 and 4 isn't great, I think you're okay waiting back and not sort of pushing the farm all in on maybe getting up to, say, get into CJ Stroud. But what I would be very interested in is the whole Lamar Jackson dynamic, because when you present it the way you did, I would say I'd rather have the established guy. But is your head coach signing off on that? Is your head coach on the same page with that? And is Jim Irsay, the other question, is he crazy enough, even if your head coach says, I'd rather go with the rookie develop, and Jim Irsay says, you know, Lamar Jackson looked pretty damn good in the Colts uniform, though. I hear you, coach, but this is why I'm the owner.
I mean,
we're going to go ahead and do it.
They've wandered in the Sahara since Andrew Luck retired.
Yeah.
You know,
he ain't coming back.
They thought, you know, Matt Ryan was going to be the answer. Carson Wentz was going to be the answer.
Philip
Rivers. Yeah, I mean, so
Coach Rivers.
But Lamar Jackson is different from all of them.
Oh, yeah.
And he's also 25 years old.
Yeah.
All right. Brandon Vogel is going to join us here in a little bit. There is portal news in the Big Ten. It does not involve Nebraska. So Calvin Hart Jr., who is a linebacker at Illinois, formerly a linebacker, has just entered the transfer portal as a graduate transfer. So if you remember, he had a monster game against Nebraska, the game to kick off the season in 21. He was Big Ten Player of the Week. Not that there were many choices, but still, he had a big game. So 21, he was much better. Last year, he battled some injuries, and he wasn't as explosive, but he's a multi-game starter. 21 was better than 22. He had an injury to begin spring ball this year in Champaign, so he got a late start, and now he's in the portal. They have another outside linebacker who is a backup that is in the portal as well. I wonder if Ryan Walters, who was the defensive coordinator at Illinois, will be a destination for him. Or, I mean, you have to, with every guy that gets in the portal, all right, would that be a guy that Nebraska would be interested in? But then I stop and go, well, Nebraska's trying to whittle down the roster, not add. And that may also factor into when Rule was asked the other day, hey, you going to do anything with the offensive line? He's like, no, we're happy here because they don't have room. But Calvin Hart Jr. is now in the transfer portal. I don't know whether he's listed Colorado as his destination.
That's what I was thinking. It's like, I mean, everyone's just got to throw him in there. It's like, you know this?
Yeah.
You add Colorado to the list? You know this at all? No, just throwing him in there. When in doubt, just slide him in there. I like your first scenario, though, with Ryan Walters. Makes sense.
There's a comfortability and
veteran leader.
You don't have a lot of time here. So you got to go to places that probably know you.
Yep.
Like you wouldn't go to Colorado because he probably doesn't know your name.
Right. And won't learn it.
Yeah. Hey, buddy, you're getting cut today. Says the article out of The Athletic.
You know what's awful about that Athletic article, too? The offensive lineman was enjoying a Sunday afternoon at the Olive Garden, which was lovely.
I want some extra breadsticks.
Which I'm sure
eating
was,
my feelings.
You know, I was waiting for it in that article to say, was at the Olive Garden, which was lovely.
Dion to the stream said parents are starting to speak to reporters.
No. They're naming names.
I'm not sure he knew the names of half the kids he got rid of.
Probably not.
Hey, buddy, you're getting cut today.
I'm not buddy, I'm pal.
What would have been great is if he said, you know what, we're just looking at our wide receiving room right now, and there's just, we got too many bodies in here. Coach, I actually play outside linebacker.
I'm a linebacker.
Well, yeah, I knew that too, but I was just talking about it. I was making general statements about our wide receiving room too, you know.
How soon before wins matter in Boulder? I don't think wins will matter.
Not this year.
Wins won't matter this year. They could be 1-11.
Yeah.
But year two?
Yeah, I think year two, you want to see some type of method to the madness of the roster construction.
I think it's going to get old fast.
Because I think with the amount of turnover, any fan base would see that, whether it's the coaches doing or it's just happening. I think you'd say, okay, realistically, this is going to be tough to win in year one with that much turnover and that much attrition. But knowing that this is sort of the plan by Dion, you go into that and it's radical change when it comes to the roster. You probably think, all right, year two, we got to start seeing some type of he's on to something proof. So I don't know if that even means 7 wins, but I think you got to see somewhere in the neighborhood of at least 5 wins before you're like, what are we doing here?
People are going to look at this and go, hey, it's a success. This is what you're supposed to do. He said he was going to do this. He's going to flip the roster. And he hasn't lied. So, I mean, that's what he's doing. But don't let it blind you. Man, they have a lack of talent.
Yeah.
They were at 1-11.
Tiny.
They have guys going out the door that coming in the door, I don't think are better than the guys leaving. So don't be blinded and go, man, Prime's doing this is great. They have a lack of talent.
Yeah.
They have a serious lack of talent right now. And at some point, you got to stop running your football program like you're at Jackson State. You're in big boy football. You're in a real conference with real coaches that want none other than to hang a 50 burger on you.
Yep.
Okay?
At the least.
I don't know. He's the front man. He's the hype show. He's the reality show. The thing that's going to keep this program as alive is his coaching staff. And how long will they put up with all of this? Because they've never been somewhere where you've had all of this going on.
Yeah.
We got a camera going all the time and everything else.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned Boyle and, you know, guys that have been around that, you know, probably know the right way to go about this at this level. But how much of that is rubbing off on Dion and how much of that is Dion interested in taking in all of that knowledge and being able to now apply to big boy football?
Is Deion Sanders as popular nationally on Saturday compared to today?
Probably not. Probably not, because there's more to distract you with. But right now, I mean, this is the off season, so it's easier to really dig into what is going on in Boulder.
Because Saturday people love Dion on Saturday.
Oh, it's a 2-hour infomercial.
It was a big deal.
All right, 9:30. Coming up in just a little bit, as I mentioned, Brandon Vogel. We got the crossover as well, and we will have an Aaron Rodgers press conference today, who has gone all heel. So Aaron Rodgers, 10 years ago compared to today, popularity.
Oh, it's taken a hit.
Quirky, funny, winning, plays for the Packers, kind of cool.
Yeah.
People are tired of him.
Granola, Seeking Darkness, ayahuasca.
He turned heel.
What the hell's going on?
He turned heel and has played it well.
Yeah.
But will he still be a heel in New York? Or will he be a whole different guy, smiling, looks good, back to the old Aaron Rodgers?
Depends on who he's dating. Depends on who he's dating.
Go to the game tonight with Jordan Love.
Isn't that always the case?
Mm-hmm. Take on the personality, women takes over.
Women run the show. Let's
They do.
just be honest.
They do.
This is Mornings with Sharp and Handley at 1620 The Zone.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. Previously on Unsportsmanlike Conduct.
That's psycho behavior. No, it's not. If you're someone like, I don't want to watch it live because of commercials, that's problematic behavior. What? You probably want the perch to happen in real life. What? I don't want to be friends with that type of person.
From the
It's 2
person who
hours.
says, I can't watch movies on regular TV because I can't stand the commercial.
Correct. That's different, though, John. This is
That is
sports.
not different.
This is sports. It's only live one time.
Unsportsmanlike Conduct with John Bishop and Josh Peterson. Weekdays 2 to 6 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from Canoyer Garden Center and KETV Newswatch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
A beautiful spring day ahead for Wednesday. Expect partly to mostly sunny skies with a light southeast breeze. Highs climbing into the upper 60s. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
Duck Defense Midwest makes your home healthier and improves the life of your HVAC system. So improve the health of your home and everyone in it. Go to cleanairradio.com for a special duct cleaning offer for Zone listeners. That's cleanairradio.com.
The Blue Jay Zone is brought to you by Barry Law. We're in it to win it. The best season in recent Creighton tennis history came to a close last week at the Big East Tournament. Both men's and women's teams made their first conference semis, with the women going all the way to the finals, where they lost to Xavier. Head coach Tom Lilly.
I've been doing this is my 26th year, so we've never had a season like this for either team, and have both teams having just so much success right now. It's maybe in another few weeks we'll be able to look back at this and say this is really a special season. And
winning comes without a guarantee. Focus, discipline, and extraordinary effort make winning more likely. Sometimes our greatest wins come from major setbacks. Coming back from a serious injury is a win that requires teamwork. At Barry Law, we're in it to win it.
If you have been seriously injured in an accident, call Barry Law today. 402-999-7777.
Email us on the Equitable inbox with whatever is on your mind. The Zone inbox is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. You can hit me up, agree, disagree, tell me your thoughts on life at Handley at 1620thezone.com. We want to hear from you on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox.
Shop Sid Dillon Chevrolet, Nebraska's #1 volume Chevy dealer. Visit any of our 4 locations for your new Chevy or pre-owned vehicle, or at SidDillonChevy.com. Chevy, find new roads.
You are what drives us, Sid Dillon.
The brand new Dollar General Distribution Center in Blair is now hiring. Starting wage is up to $22 per hour with benefits including medical, dental, vision, 401k, and a $2,000 sign-on bonus. Apply today by texting DG Warehouse to 25000 or online at dollargeneral.com/careers. Again, apply today by texting DG Warehouse to 25000 or online at dollargeneral.com/careers. Dollar General can't wait to have you become a team member at their brand new distribution center.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Adam Fisher brought up a good point. Next year's draft class, Caleb Williams, Drake Maine, two guys that stand out right away. Caleb Williams is the best player going into college football this year, reigning Heisman Trophy winner.
Could be the front runner again.
I don't think there's much. You're right. I don't think there's much of a debate. No, the best player in college football for 2023. You know what?
They'll put a big numbers in Colorado.
Oh,
might.
Well,
Well, if the DBs are any indication that we've seen.
Well, you're going to face Bo Nix and Caleb Williams in 2 of your first 5 games, the Colorado defense.
Yep.
Good luck.
Good luck.
But I was looking at this thing. So LeBron tonight has a chance. The Lakers have a chance to close out
the LA LeBrons.
Memphis.
Say it. It's okay.
And the guy at 38 years old, I don't think Lakers are a legit threat to win the championship. I mean, the Western Conference Finals actually being played in the semifinals between Denver and Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
There's too much standing around, and you can't trust Anthony Davis. But give LeBron credit where credit is due. Sometimes we take him for granted. He's 38. I mean, if he ever pulled this off and they won an NBA Finals this year, that might be his greatest accomplishment. But he's 38 and he's still doing things that, with a lot of tread on the tires, you go, whoa. Tonight he has a chance to close out Memphis. But ESPN, of course, with LeBron, is all over him today, and they keep running it on the show that's on TV in the studio here. And you know, there's a debate. They just went to commercial, Jimmy. They started the GOAT discussion again. I'm like, what are we doing here? It's April 26th. But thinking about college football, we don't really ever have a debate. Like all the other sports, we have a debate about the GOATs. Now in college, it's a little bit different. I don't think we ever get into a deep dive about who's the GOAT of college basketball. We don't really ever have a debate at all over who we think is the GOAT in college football.
The closest was when they did that 150 series a few years ago.
Right.
They had the round tables.
And maybe it's because there's so many programs, but it just sparked a thought in my head thinking about Caleb Williams, and he's going to be the best player in college football going into this year. We don't get into a heated debate about GOATs in college sports.
Well, because it's just
there's a lot.
I think it's an impossible science.
You're
not that the one that we have between MJ and LeBron is more exact science, because it comes down to, again, generational. It comes down to what you value, what you consider to be valuable or most valuable or greatest of, so everybody has their own definition. But yeah, when you talk about college football, you think about some of the Heisman Trophy winners that were just like must see, like could not wait. Like, I mean, remember Reggie Bush, like you had to watch him play. The amount of thrills that he gave you in the college game, like, was must see. But then you would
Fresno State game in 2005 got a whole bar in Lawrence. I was a senior then. Completely stopped. They had music going and nobody was doing anything to anything in the music. They were watching this human joystick on the big screen TV.
I mean, so like I think of like the players in the moments that, like at one point, Johnny Manziel. I mean, he was like the human joystick you had to see him play. But then, there's guys like, if we're going by the Heisman Trophy and that being the most valuable player, and we know that doesn't always apply to defensive players like Ndamukong Suh, but I mean, people realize Jason White won a Heisman Trophy. I get it. He put up numbers, but was that like, oh, God, got to tune in and watch Jason White play. This dude's just an absolute stud. Chris Wank, you got to tune in, other than the fact that he's very old. I got to watch him play.
See, you know what? In this debate, you might have to go back a ways to like the top of the list. To me, and I don't remember, I saw him more like on video, but Herschel Walker is the greatest college football player to me.
And I think a lot of people would say that.
Barry Sanders isn't very far behind.
Mm-hmm. What about Bo?
And Bo would be, Bo Jackson would be in the top 5.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people all kind of in the same era.
And you and I, of a similar age, know of that. But a younger generation, I don't think, is saying the same thing. They're like, oh, I've heard of them, but what made them so special that you would put them in your top 5 as opposed to Reggie Bush? So again, it comes down when the basketball one too. It's generational. It's totally generational.
Yeah. If I talked to my dad, he would say Pistol Pete.
Right.
You talk maybe us.
People
and
talk
maybe a little bit older. They might say Bird or Magic.
Right.
And then if you're in your 20s and you say, "Hey, I'll have a debate on the best college basketball player," I wonder where you're going.
I mean,
a 1-year Carmelo.
Mellow, but like a younger generation, I think just recently would have saw Zion and said Zion.
Yeah. And even then, he needed 6 threes by Jerry McNamara to win the championship.
I would have said, go back into the lab and watch more. All right, Brandon Vogel to close out the show. He's coming next.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley. It's the 5K giveaway on 1620 The Zone. Enter to win a $5,000 shopping spree right now at 1620thezone.com. It's the 5K giveaway on 1620 The Zone.
The cigar enthusiasts at Hearth Cigars and Pipes are a pretty diverse bunch of humans. Some enjoy an adult beverage or two, others pass the time with a competitive yet friendly game of dominoes. Still others enjoy shooting some pool downstairs, while more than a few are just satisfied with each other's company. The common thread with all of them is the awesomeness that is their favorite cigar from the humidor. Hearth Cigars and Pipes, just off the 48th Street exit from I-680 at the corner of Mormon Bridge Road and McKinley, and at hearthcigars.com.
Ever walk through a door and see all the trucks? Yeah, it's kind of like that at Gretna Auto Outlet. Half-ton trucks, three-quarter-ton trucks, dualies, gas or diesel. Gretna Auto Outlet will be happy to show it to you. They don't call it truck heaven for nothing, you know. Stop in the climate-controlled comfort of the indoor showroom or online with the virtual showroom at GretnaAuto.com. Gretna Auto Outlet, open Sundays too, just north of Nebraska Crossing on Highway 6 in Gretna.
How powerful is the Cox network? So powerful that one day the internet will let your doctor perform miracles from thousands of miles away,
Connecting to remote operating room.
giving a whole new meaning to the term house call.
Operation complete.
The Cox network, with multi-gig speeds now available, it's internet built for tomorrow, today. Cox, bringing us closer. Limited availability in select areas. Speeds vary and are not guaranteed. Cox terms apply. Other restrictions may apply.
Watching a ball game at Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill is pretty awesome. Oscar's offers the MLB package, so your team is always on their upgraded audio-video system, and nothing is better than watching the game with a cold frosty one, Oscar's Pizza, or award-winning char-buffed wings. And with daily lunch and dinner specials, it's really a no-brainer. So get ready to watch your favorite team play ball at Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill, 173rd and West Center Road, and takeout at 162nd and Maple.
Progressive presents 10 things on a contractor's to-do list that are harder than getting a commercial auto insurance quote. Bidding a new client, giving an accurate estimate, finding affordable materials, getting a client to pay you for work you already did, getting a client to pay you, period, securing permits and workers and tools, getting those workers and tools to work together, and finding the perfect pair of overalls. Pockets, baby. But the easiest thing on a small business owner's to-do list? Seeing if you can save on commercial auto insurance. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms and conditions.
My friend and I are taking a trip to Mexico this year, but neither of us speak Spanish. So we downloaded Babbel and started learning Spanish fast.
Want to start getting conversational in another language in as little as 3 weeks? Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons were designed by language experts to be the most efficient and effective way to learn a new language.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿De dónde eres?
¿De dónde eres?
Babbel's interactive lessons are created by real language teachers and voiced by real native speakers using a modern conversation-based method. So in no time, you can start speaking confidently about real-life topics in another language.
Nosotras vamos a México en 2 días y ahora hablamos español. Gracias, Babbel. Sí, muchas gracias.
Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Just go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Hey, what do you do if you're at Oregon? Oregon is always, I'm pretty sure, and Brandon Vogel can back this up, I think Oregon is the last school always to play their spring game. They play their spring game this weekend. They have a monster recruiting weekend in Eugene, but the portal closes on the 30th. So Oregon is the last one to
it's
play.
a tight window.
Brandon Vogel from Hale Varsity joins the program. That always, I don't know if it's because of the weather or what, but Oregon always seems to go last when it comes to the spring game.
They do. It might have to do with their semester setup as well, which because they're always one of those schools that can kind of take transfers later. I can't remember.
Yeah,
There's
that's
something
true. I think they're in the quarters like Washington.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, it's when they decided to move this transfer portal up, I didn't think much about it for football only. Like it just seems like it would have been better May 1st, May 15th, but. here we are.
You know what? I wonder if that'll get adjusted, because it almost seems like now some players that knew that they were either leaving on their own accord or they had a pretty good feeling that they'd be processed, they just went and they tried to ball out in the spring game to get stuff on tape.
Yeah, it did really feel like an audition in multiple cases, which, it's this new era of college football on multiple fronts. Everybody's just kind of feeling around in the dark, but I wouldn't be surprised if that got adjusted back to what it is for the rest of the sport.
What do you think is, after this is all done, and I know the discussion this week is about the portal. It's kind of as we've gotten further away from Saturday. But now that you've watched and put eyeballs on guys, what do you think was the number one thing they got accomplished during the spring?
I mean, I was impressed by some things defensively. I feel like I saw some of the aggressiveness that we expected to see. So, and I was impressed with how hard some of the guys were running in the spring game. I felt like that was something that jumped out to me that you don't take for granted in this type of setting. So you combine those two things together, I feel like they've done a good job in setting the mentality that they're after, kind of accountability, hard-nosed, all of the buzzwords we've heard this spring. So, it's a tough thing to totally show on film, but I came out of Saturday feeling like, okay, I can see a little bit of progress made there.
Brandon, we were discussing, some of the previous recruiting classes and just kind of the different coaching staffs when it came to, why we've seen a lot of the turnover, and we use wide receiver, just, coming off the heels of Victor Jones announcing his name in the transfer portal. When you look at the evaluation from previous coaching staffs, and we can just use the previous one, Scott Frost, as an example, compared to, again, early stages of how maybe they're evaluating talent to bring over. And when we talk about evaluating, not necessarily guys that are actually on campus, but guys that you hope will be on campus when it comes to offers, have you noticed any kind of difference that sort of maybe jumps off the page of, yeah, it seems like this staff really values this compared to maybe what the previous staff did?
I mean, I think the kind of athletic measurables are taking a little bit more of the front page, so to speak. When you look at wide receivers specifically, I mean, we've seen how much they prize kind of pure speed, track speed, if you will, and they'll kind of figure it out from there. And wide receiver recruiting is an interesting one, not just in Nebraska, but I think broadly to me. There's so many of those players out there. You can just look at high school football and say, well, he's our best athlete. Where do we put him? A lot of times you put him a wide receiver. And I feel like, just kind of naturally that way, there tends to be a little bit of rating inflation. Not that coaches are recruiting from that, but, for people like us who kind of have to watch recruiting from the sidelines, like you see Nebraska gets a 4-star receiver and you think, oh, that's pretty good. But I think the actual evaluation of wide receiver and having a specific set of skills would be the difference that I've noticed so far for this staff at that position.
Yeah, that's a great point. And this is the NFL. I just want to read this. This is Adam Best on Twitter. 40% of first-round wide receivers are busts, failed to record a single season with at least 800 yards. And the bust rate for wide receivers drafted in the second and third rounds during the same stretch is around 32%. So day 2 is when you go and you pick up a wide receiver. And Nebraska's room is going to be kind of young. They got to make some moves with some guys to move out and make room for the younger guys. Let's stay on the offensive side of the football. They're going to catch passes. What's your comfort level with the tight end room?
Yeah, I mean, I was probably hoping to see a little bit more out of the group as a whole. It seemed like, and maybe they were, still being a little bit careful, but it seemed like Fedoni, he's got a ways to go, which makes total sense. He suffered 2 big injuries. Gilbert wasn't much of a factor, so it's a spot where, I mean, honestly, outside of Borgkircher, how they used Bonner stood out as much to me as anything else from that group. So I think they'll be okay there. you look at Fedoni and Gilbert in particular, if Gilbert were to be able to play this season, and think, boy, that's an enticing mix of two really talented and athletic guys. I might have come out of spring game tapping the brakes a little bit. Like, I think Nebraska will be fine at tight end. I'm not ready to say, boy, this is really close to being a weapon for them.
And on that note, I know we mentioned, as you did right there with Fedoni and Ari Gilbert, given his status, and we'll find out. And Nate Borkature, he's just kind of there. He's been there. He hauled in the big pass, but it seems like there's a lot of upside to Borkature. Is that, in your opinion, right now, like one of the more stabilizing presences in that position room? I mean, just based on his availability more than anything.
His availability, and given the chances. I mean, we even saw this a little bit last year,
right?
But in the spring game, like, given the chance to make plays, he's made plays.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a stabilizing force is a really, really good way to put that. Like, I don't know. I haven't asked any of the coaches about this, but I look at him and say, that's probably a guy they feel pretty good about.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to be somebody that, gets highlighted in the national previews of Nebraska in any way. But I bet the coaching staff puts a greater value on what he's able to contribute than really most people probably are right now.
Why do you think a good majority of the early enrollees look like they belong by the time they got to practice 15?
Really, that's a really great question. One I hadn't considered to this point, because I mean, when you look at those two guys on the defensive line in the spring game they had, like, that's not coming in and just being uber athletic and finding a spot at safety because you like to hit people. Like, that's a tough ask, and that's a physical position. So maybe some of it comes down to having kind of a level playing field for everybody, whether you're a returner or a new addition. But right now with those two guys, I mean, those were the two highest rated players, I think, in Nebraska's recruiting class from the high school ranks. Credit to the staff for, I guess, getting them to a point where they could just go play football their first time in Memorial Stadium in front of 60,000 people. It's pretty impressive when you stop and think about it.
The other news that we learned yesterday, and two quarterbacks, but one in particular that I wanted to bring up, and when it comes to Richard Torres, we were kind of going over the quarterbacks on Monday, and look, there's been a lot of positive to the spring that Heinrich Harburg has had, and maybe that led to the decision of Richard Torres, where he kind of sees the writing on the wall. What was just from a pure presence in the game, and I understand it was just practice 15 of 14 other ones that we didn't see in that type of competition, but just the difference between Richard Torres and Heinrich Harburg when it came to just their presence in that game and throwing the football, because even though neither one of them really, from an accuracy standpoint was great, there was something about the mechanics with Richard Torres that I was actually a little bit more intrigued by.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think Torres had the most pass attempts of anybody in that game. I think he ended up something like 9 of 18, somewhere around there. I mean, other than Sims, nobody was great on the completion percentage front, and Harvard particularly struggled in that regard. So I feel like it was useful in that, we talked about it last week on the show. Everything we'd seen of him was running the football, and credit to him, like, he can do that. That the athleticism is absolutely there, and he stepped in, and I didn't feel like he didn't have command of the offense. It was just, missed some throws, and so it went. Torres, certainly, I think, he's probably the purest passer, certainly of the underclassmen in that room. And, he's a player who I saw some good things from on Saturday. I think, when you look at to go in the portal or not, which he did, it may not have been the perfect fit for where this quarterback position is headed at Nebraska in the future. So, that one to me strikes me very much as kind of, hey, we like you. If you want to stay here, by all means, like, here's what we see. He'll go somewhere, and he'll find, I think, an offense that is good for him. And I think he'll be a good player.
All right, let's finish and let's stick with this, and let's just have some fun, because this is what we do with Nebraska football. We overreact to everything. Torres out, Smothers out, Purdy feels like he's staying. Harburg is staying. Jeff Sims has got a hoodie line. He's got a clothing line. He threw darts. He ran over a guy to score a touchdown. That was all this spring. It ended on Saturday. It is Tuesday night. We're now to Wednesday morning, but this is Tuesday night. Why would Casey Thompson post 30 clips of him throwing the football in the practice facility on his IG on a Tuesday night?
Keep your options open, I guess. I mean, it's kind of felt like that for a while now, throughout spring, with just the unique nature of this. And, I kind of went in to start spring practice thinking, boy, we're talking about Jeff Sims a lot. And, is it only because Thompson isn't available? And I don't necessarily think that any longer. I thought Sims looked good. I think Casey Thompson has been pretty quiet prior to the post that you just mentioned. And, this transfer window is really interesting on multiple fronts. But if you go in now, I mean, the competition in terms of number of offers and from who these players are getting, it's very much a seller's market. So if you're a quarterback like that, and you have this unique situation where the new staff brought in another guy, even though you had planned to return, don't blame him for at least thinking hard about what his best position is for one more year of football.
Well, it never ends. But choose your fighter. It could be an interesting battle for QB1 throughout the summer, leading to the camp in late July.
Yeah, absolutely. QB2 too.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. Don't overlook that. Great point. Brandon, we always appreciate it. Have a great week.
You too, guys. Thanks a lot.
So on his Instagram, he's got 30 clips. So he's in the championship center throwing.
Yep.
It's just him and a few other guys.
So you don't do that.
So this is new. So this is legit. So he's back to throwing the ball, and it's almost like if you're putting together a video for NFL scouts, you go through all the different throws.
Right.
So I know what the immediate one is. Okay, let's think about the timing. Or is it, hello, I did start last year.
Yeah, I'm still here.
And I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, I'm still
here. You
here.
might not have seen me, but I'm back.
Mm-hmm. I'm ready to work. Throw my hat in the ring for the competition.
Stir.
Has it been communicated? That's the thing. How's it been communicated between Satterfield and Rule to both Sims and, more importantly, to Casey?
The intriguing thing you brought up yesterday was about the whole deal with relationship building with Charles Thompson and the athletes in Oklahoma. So, I mean, there's more to it here.
Yeah, if Casey Thompson's not here in the fall, it's because he had an opportunity somewhere else. I mean, Nebraska's not saying, because if you had to be honest with yourself, there's only two guys on this roster that right now could start at quarterback at Nebraska. Now, I went back and looked. Harburg, wasn't the 2 for 9. Yeah, he's very, very raw. But there's at least, like, you're not going to kick him to the curb. But there's two guys that are currently on the roster that are battling to start at quarterback. There's nobody else.
No.
You would not feel comfortable with anybody else except for those two.
And I think you need them both.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going to have their quarterback running the ball. You better have a second one.
Yeah. I just wonder what the mindset was. And, Casey's pretty competitive. Say, hey, film this, and then we're putting this up.
Yep.
What was his intention?
And maybe that was it. Like, do with this as you may.
A sports thirst trap, if you will.
Or Casey's a little bit of a mystery guy. Hey, keep him thinking.
Yep.
But also keep the guy that I'm going to go to battle with thinking as well.
Yep.
This will be fun this summer.
Football IQ, man. He knows what he's doing.
Will we have, for the first time in a while, a real, even when it was Martinez and Jebbia, you still know, hey, Adrian's their guy. Okay, are we in the same situation again? Hey, we know that Sims is their guy, but that other guy's been here for a while. And people thought this would be boring around here in the offseason. All right. Thanks to everybody that tuned in today. Adam Teicher, Brandon Vogel, and everybody that, thought I was a jackass last night doing a PA. No, I'm just kidding, Larry. Larry, we're friends. But
Did a fine job.
But if you're going to smoke, go to Iowa.
Yep. It's a solid message.
All right, coming up tomorrow, Steve Simple will stop by, Sarah Baker Hansen as well. We'll win you some money, and we'll get you fed with Oscar's Pizza and Grill, and Ask Us Anything. For Jimmy, for Nick, I'm Gary. Crossover's coming up next.
Live from the Host Coffee Studio,